brownfield expansion. We have already sort of started that, and as an organization, we will be well equipped for the next 10 years to keep serving the pets from a nutrition standpoint. Next. There are a couple of things that I would also touch upon globally. You know, this category is definitely booming. This category is the sunrise category. This is one of the fastest growing FMCG categories that we have in the country. And this is also a sunrise category where the best of this category, and we are extremely fortunate to be a part of this ecosystem, and the best of this ecosystem is yet to come in the next 10 years. But for that to happen, we need to also ensure that we take sustainability measures so that we are able to do it for a much longer term. We have this beautiful program in Indonesia where we are doing the coral reef restoration, because we obviously use a lot of marine life into as raw materials to our product. So it is very essential that we inculcate and we give that back to the society in terms of coral reef restoration, because 50% of the marine life depends on coral reef. So I think that's one big effort that we've taken in Indonesia. In India, we have started this campaign, about 2 years back. Last year, we did more than 4.5 lakh, meals to strays. And these are through various initiatives. We have done through crowdfunding models like Donate Card. We have other NGOs that we have worked with, and we have also done it directly through our own efforts. So about 4 lakh meals is what we have sort of served to strays in the last year. Next. And this is one thing which really fills our heart with the pride. And this is something that we had never attempted, in the earlier years, is how do you sort of bring indies into the forefront and not always the pedigree dogs or the known dogs. How do you bring indies into the forefront? We took this campaign, and honestly, we were not very sure on when we started with, but what we ended with gave us a lot of pride and satisfaction. We were able to do almost 600 indie adoptions in the last 3 to 4 months of this campaign. I know 600 may not sound a very big number, but 600 indie adoptions is definitely something that we still cherish. That if we can do this, then the scale can be increased. Once we add more number of cities, more number of resources, I think we can increase the scale to a significant size. Next. Before I leave it, I think I will just ask to play that AV so that we understand what we did and how much pleasure it gave us. Thank you very much.
Mama will take most stayed in this house because she was scared of them. But when Papa brought Toto from the shelter, his love changed her.
I always wanted a pet. So when our kids moved abroad, he said, let's get one.
But the real challenge was kahan se? My friend suggested a shelter, and there we fell in love with our indies.
I read a post about rescued stray for a loving home, but people were commenting horrible things. None of them wanted to stay as pet. So I went to that shelter and adopted this little indie.
Toto's affection changed Mama's fear into love.
We are about to adopt indies from a shelter.
Love has no breed.
जब आप एक इंडी को अडॉप्ट करते हो, उसे नई लाइफ मिलती है. Be indie proud. Adopt now.
Thank you, Nitin. And this campaign is really close to our hearts. The whole Instagram campaign, love knows no breed. Okay, so while we are all very fascinated with breed dogs, I think there are distinct advantages in adopting indies. We have our panel moderators here, Samik, who is an indie parent and really loves indies. So I overall, and indie in the option, like Nitin said, it's a beautiful experience, to work with, to have pets around us when we are working. So thank you, Nitin, for talking about Mars and our purpose. I would now like to invite our guest of honor, Rajini Krishna, founder of Blue Cross of India and the founding father of Animal Welfare Board of India. He was vice chairman of the Animal Welfare Board of India from 2001 to 2004 and was nominated by the Government of India for another 3-year term in December. Then, a member of the World Society for Protection of Animals since 2004. And the Blue Cross Adopted Dog program also launched a mass movement to promote adoption in house streets and shelters as an ethical choice. And like I said, he's been our biggest supporter in this case. So,
morning, everybody, and thank you for the introduction. But I'd like to go on one small correction. I'm not the founder of the Animal India. It was Adi Devi, and I was connected from the beginning, from 1962, as the assistant editor of the Animal Citizen, which was being edited by Peter Hoffman, Amala's the person who had adopted Amala. So it's been a long journey, but I would like to just make a few points. Number one, what is a pedigree? As Dr. JP can testify, there is nothing like a pedigree dog. There are dogs that have a certificate of pedigree given by a kennel club, which reads, this is to certify that Ronald Reagan, or whatever the name of the dog is, sired by so-and-so with the mother, the dame so-and-so, and they may go back to 2 generations or sometimes 3. And the clinching line is all have similar characteristics which conform to the Latin American Kennel Club's stipulations for a Great Dane or for a Golden Retriever. The Golden Retriever, for example, that you see today is less than 120 years old. The dog that walked with Arjuna to heaven after the Mahabharata war looks exactly like the street dog adopted by Pedigree. So which really is the original pedigree? The oldest recorded pedigree in the world is a Saluki, which is about 7,000 years old. The Indian pedigree is 14,000 years old. Okay, so having got that out of the way, the second point is a street dog. There is nothing like a stray dog. For thousands of years, people in India lived in harmony with nature, which included the dogs. Unfortunately, that changed in the last few hundred years. And from being somebody who lived, it was a symbiotic relationship, the dog and human beings. In return for a few scraps from the table, the dog protected the village by warning of people coming in, outsiders coming in, and things like this. Today, though we call dogs man's best friend, what we should really ask ourselves is man a dog's best friend? And the answer, very sadly, is no. The street animals in India, really do not deserve to be on the street. We got them there because of our irresponsible ways of letting them breed. The breeders, for example, there is nothing, let me be very, very clear, even if I'm hurting breeders over here, there is nothing like an ethical breeder. Unless he breeds his female once, only for one breeding season, and then retires it, like they do for service dogs in the whole of Latin America. Only one pregnancy is permitted. Why do the breeders in India fight so much against the Animal Welfare Board rules, which wanted every breeder to be registered? Because the entire breeding industry is unaccounted money. It's 100% black money, which is never, and it runs into billions of rupees. It's not a small scale operation. You go to a place like Ooty, you find at least 800 unlicensed breeders over there. So that's the second point. And the third point, the Corporation of Chennai. We are their partners. We are proud to say that though from 1964, we tried to get them, I'll be very honest with you. When I first went to the dog pound in 63 to look for a missing dog, and I saw the dogs in the dog pound, it was a heart-rending sight. And very sadly, when I saw the electrocution being done, very, very sadly, my first reaction was there has to be a kinder way of killing these dogs. But then when I began to study the whole thing, within 1 year, everything became obvious. The street dog killing program in Madras started in 1860 with either the Commissioner of Police or the Collector of Madras, both British officials, who would respond to a call that there's a rabid dog or biting dog in the bazaar. They would put on their solar topis and go to the double-barrel gun and shoot the dog in the bazaar. A very, very messy sight, but probably the most humane way to dispatch a rabid dog in those days. Let's not judge a generation, 4 generations past by our standards today. But then in 1919, the Corporation of Madras came out with the dog control, with the rules. When you study that, the reason given was to control the number of dogs on the street and the incidence of human rabies. If you study the figures from 1964 to 1996, every year the number of dogs on the street went up. That's by visual evidence, which you can see by photographic evidence. You'll see the number of dogs in a public photograph taken and the number of human rabies cases reported by the government hospitals. Every year it went up, and there were 120 reported cases of rabies, human rabies deaths in 1996. If 120 cases were reported, you can be absolutely sure that the number of people who died must have been far, far higher, because most cases went unreported. And when a doctor suspected that a patient definitely had rabies, he would tell the family, take it back to the village and let him die over there. Today, if there's even one rabies case, social media will be filled with it. What is the corporation doing? There's a dog here in Tambaram which bit somebody and somebody. It happened when in Christian College, there were 2 deaths from rabies about 6 years ago. So now I come back to the role of the corporation. We approached commissioner after commissioner saying we have to do something about this. And all that we could get done for many years was that the animals were being fed for the 3 days that they were kept in confinement before being electrocuted in a very, very barbaric fashion. And it was in 1965 that we started our first animal birth control program. And we called it the ABC program, or Animal Birth Control Program, to convince the corporation and all the authorities that control of the street dog population was as simple as ABC. Dr. Wilson, who was the chief of surgery at the Madras Veterinary College, and Dr. Bertie D'Souza, who was the dean at that time, were the people who really helped us get this thing off the ground, along with the director of animal husbandry, a person, Dr. I.D. Mantramurthy. And it was being run in Basrullah Road for many, many years. The unfortunate problem is that the corporation carried on with their catching and killing program alongside our ABC program, and many of the dogs that we had spayed at great expense were caught and killed, because once you have caught them, a street dog begins to trust human beings. And they were the easiest to catch. In 1996, I took Mr. Abul Hassan, who was the commissioner of the Madras. He had become the special officer in the meantime of the Madras Corporation to the dog pound. He saw the killing, and then he stopped the killing overnight. 5 years before the government of India brought in the dog control rules, Mr. Abul Hassan, the IAS commissioner of Madras, stopped the killing. And since then, there has been no killing of street dogs by the corporation in Madras. Of course, we did not get any funding from the corporation for the ABC program that we did. We continued. It was only in 2002 that we got our first 420 rupees from the corporation per dog. But the success in Madras was proved by the fact that there was not, every year there was a drop in rabies cases from 1996 onwards, after we took up the ABC program and stopped the killing. In 2007, there was 0 case of rabies in Madras city. 2008, there was 0, and 2009, there was 0. with the result that Times of India published an article in 2010 saying rabies has been declared, Chennai has been declared rabies free by the Corporation of Madras. For those of you who are interested, please write to me. I'll be happy to send you a copy of that clipping. Unfortunately, after the Madras Corporation enlarged their city limits in places where no ABC was being done, there were cases, and it is a contiguous area. Dogs do migrate from one place to another. Rabies has not been wiped out, but there has been virtually no deaths from rabies in Madras for many years now. Dogs still get rabies. We get at least one case of rabies a week in Madras in our shelter. Still, it's there, but once again, I'd like to just make it very clear, a street is no place for a dog. Every dog deserves a good, loving home. And the only way we can do that is by a very, very aggressive animal birth control program, for which we have to depend, whether we like it or not, on the government and in the cities to the municipalities concerned. We are very happy that the Madras Corporation have been leading the way really to, if you can consider the whole of India, we have been really leading the way. Uttarakhand is the only one that comes anywhere close. And in Madras, even recently, about a week ago, the commissioner and his entire group realized that there were many dogs that had been kept in the Puliantop dog pound for 36 months or more for mange and long-term treatment. They were all released back on the street. We are very, very grateful to the corporation and the commissioner and his complete entire team. When I sent a SMS to Gagandeep Singh Bedi about the 1913 drop, which said complaints for stray dog menace. I said, how can you call it a stray dog menace? If you say complaint about street dogs, it was changed within a few hours. So thank you all very much for that. And the Blue Cross has been trying to raise the image of the Indian dog by two major programs. One was the Well Dog Show, which we started in '87, which today is called the Great Indian Dog Show. We have had it 33 years running. We didn't have it the last 2 years because of the pandemic. We had it this year at the Phoenix Mall. It was a great success. There have been several thousand people who attended. And I'm most grateful to people like Dr. JP, who has been coming there year after year as one of our judges. And the Adopt-a-thon was first started in '96 by us. On the 2nd of May, it was sponsored by a company that has been taken over by Pedigree, by Mars, EAMS. They were the ones who sponsored our first Adopt-a-thon here. Both these together have certainly helped raise the image of the Indian dog. If you come to the Guindy Industrial Estate today, you will find at least 26 companies which have street dogs, which have indie dogs on their premises. My factory has about 20. So anybody wants to see happy Indian dogs working in a factory, please come to my factory. And I really have nothing more to say except thank you to Mars for conducting these programs and making more people aware of what's going on. And I thank the chief guest for having taken the time off from, we know the kind of, except for the police, the corporation are the most harassed lot in any city. And he's been under special pressure because of the Perunguti fire and other things. So I'm most grateful that he took the time off and the trouble to come here for us. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite our chief guest, Dr. Manish Narnawane, to share his thoughts about today's topic of discussion. Dr. Manish is the Deputy Commissioner Health for Chennai Municipal Corporation. He's an MBBS from Grand Medical College and JJ Group of Hospitals, Mumbai. He's an Tamil Nadu IS cadre. Earlier, he worked as the Joint Commissioner, Commercial Tax Enforcement of Government of Tamil Nadu. Over to you, sir.
A very good morning to all. Firstly, I would like to, this is giving corporation an opportunity to speak in this forum and be participate in this forum is definitely, I think, Mr. Vinod Kumar. He came to our office and he told that this kind of thought leadership series we are organizing, and in that it is not a one-way kind of program. It is leadership, like most of the stakeholders will be there, and healthy discussion will be going on. And in that, I think definitely when we say a stakeholder, government and corporation is one of the very important stakeholder in this initiative. And just now, respected Dr. Chenni Krishna sir told about the history of how ABC came and how Chennai was forefront in starting this ABC. Plus, not only how corporation also took the lead. Currently, sir, we are running around 3 ABC center in by Chennai Corporation. One is Kanapet, Lloyd's Colony, and Pulandop. Another 2 additional center we will be proposing, sir. One is Minambakam and Shonigalanur. And plus we have 4 pet clinics that regularly giving dog treatment. Additionally, all these 3 existing center will be again revamping and modernizing. For that also this time, Honorable Minister has announced that we'll be making the building structure and all the modern way of doing. Like mostly we will be saying that we are not keeping the dogs right now in a single kennel. But now with the new set of centers, we'll be keeping in a single kennel only. So this, plus not only that, we are regularly organizing, we have around 16 veterinary assistant surgeons, and we are regularly organizing training session for them. Recently, last month also, sir, we have organized training session for them for any modern type of, like what we are doing, surgeries. So in that, any new ways, any advanced way or in scientific way, how we can do, we are doing it, sir. Another very important issue, sir, has told that street dogs is a, and regarding to rabies also. So both sides, we are constantly doing it. ABC surgeries we are doing, and anti-rabies vaccination also parallelly we are doing. Due to that only, recently the rabies, rabies infection has reduced. Another one thing is very important in the panel of discussion is there, that One Health concept. That is also, I think in the second session, the discussion will be there. And it is very important, like from our perspective, that like as the concept evolves, it involves 3 stakeholders, like people, environment, and animals. So health of humans is equally dependent on all these parameters, how they parallelly, and even sir has mentioned that human animals, a symbiotic relationship should be there. So we should also treat them in a human way. So even for our dog catching and all this, we are giving regular training to them, to our dog catchers, so that they are using that butterfly nets for dog catching. And this is regular discussion we are having. Our Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr. Kamal, is there. Our veterinary assistant surgeons are there, sir. They'll be very happy to attend and give their feedback. And more, when I was interacting with Mr. Vinod, that here we are more in a way of getting suggestions and feedback from all these stakeholders, all the participants, so that how we can improve upon our services. Not only that, corporation, as sir has rightly told, our respected commissioner sir is always regularly reviewing this progress. Be it a street dog issue or stray cattle issue, we are regularly reviewing this issue, and whatever way we can bring improvement, we are regularly doing it. So this is the very good forum where we can, I think I'll ask Dr. Kamal complete, our team should, whatever inputs comes and whatever suggestions comes, we should implement right away. Plus, sir has recently mentioned that in Pulandop, the skin disease dogs, recently we have released, and that was a very welcome step, because they will be, as sir mentioned, more than 2 years and 3 years, they were kept there itself. So once after getting treatment, we have released them. And because that is a confining them is not a, it was not a solution for them. So making them free and giving them a better environment, I think Mr. Shavan, I think he's not there. I think he, from their side also, they have provided treatment for that skin affected dogs. So in this way, sir, definitely we'll be trying to get all the inputs from you, and with my limited understanding, slowly we are trying to improve it. plus other stakeholders, be it NGOs, be it Blue Cross of India, and they are the, I think, forerunner and guiding force for us. And sir has always been helpful in all our initiative, and we are involving, like for ABCs also, sir is, from their side also, they are regularly doing it. So with this, I think I thank the organizers, Mr. Nitin, from Mars Pet, and all other participants. And definitely, sir, we'll be looking forward for all the suggestions and inputs from this forum. And thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manish. And like I said, a big round of applause for finding the time to be with us today. Because I think this discussion is important for us going forward. And like I said, in the spirit of partnership and all of us working together. So thank you once again. I would now like to call upon my colleague, Dr. Bala Guru Chinnappa, to propose a vote of thanks. Bala is a veterinary graduate of Madras Veterinary College, Chennai, and working with Mars Petcare as Market Development Manager, South India. With 10 plus years of experience prior to Mars Petcare, Bala has worked at Ballo Multi-Speciality Pet Clinic, Scientific Remedies India, and Provimi Animal Nutrition India. Over to you, Bala.
So very good morning, everyone. So absolutely, there is no doubt that this day is going to be a great day for the animal welfare. A lot of discussions are going to happen, and now I am here to thank the chief guest, Dr. Manish. Sir, thank you so much. It's really like a very pleasure to have you here, despite your busy schedule. You are here with us. Definitely, this day would not have been, much, become more effective, because whatever discussions that we are going to have today, definitely it is going to help us with the relationship with the corporations to implicate in the for the betterment of the animals. And I now thank our sales director, Mr. Nitin Jain, for traveling down here, sir. Thank you so much for being here. And very briefly explaining about what Mars Petcare is and what we are doing for the creating the better world for the pets. And thank you so much, sir, for being here. And thank you, sir, Dr. Chinni Krishna, our guest of honor, founder, Blue Cross of India. It was for me like attending a short history class. He was giving a lot of how the animal welfare has become a progressive one in our own city, Chennai. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. Yeah. And I would like to thank all the panelists from Mr. Vinod, Dr. Raj Lakshmi, Dr. Utpal, Mr. Karthik, Ms. Chayadevi ma'am, and Mr. Mohit Sinha, our RSM, and Samik, and Dr. Kamal Hussein and his team, Sarah Hayer, and all the panelists, whoever has come here to contribute for the creating a better city, our better cities for the pets. Thank you so much, our organizing team, Grand Slam team, and our sales team. Thank you so one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bala. And now we can start with the panel discussions. Like you know already that the topic of our first panel discussion is better cities for pets and street animals. Really looking about healthcare, shelters, housing societies, parks, offices. How do we overall create a better infrastructure for pets, whether they own pets or pets on the street? This panel will be moderated by Samik Ghoshal, Key Accounts Manager, Petcare India. A proud indie pet parent and an ardent dog lover, Samik has been with Mars Petcare for almost 3 years, leading the Amazon business. Before Mars, Samik led the e-commerce business for Louis Philippe with Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail Limited. He holds an MBA from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, Delhi, and a BTech from National Institute of Technology, Rourkela, and is a firm believer that love has no breed. I'll quickly name our panelists. Our esteemed panelists are Dr. Chini Krishna, Head of Blue Cross of India, Chennai. Dr. Jay Prakash, she's a Secretary, Pet Practitioners Association, Chennai. Dr. Rubina Mondal, Postdoctorate Researcher and Indian Institute of Science Education and Researcher, IISER, Kolkata. She'll be joining us on video. Dr. P. Tensing Ganaraj, Registrar, Tanuvas. Dr. Kamal Hussein, Chief Veterinarian Officer, Chennai Municipal Corporation, Department of Animal Husbandry, Chennai. Dr. Jayanti IS, retired Dr. And I think sorry, I'm sorry, there's a bit of confusion in the names. So Mr. Don Williams is also with us here today. So I now call upon Samik to take on for the proceedings. Yeah.
Thank you, Vasudha. Thank you so much for the kind introductions. And like you said, very rightly said, love has no breed. Dr. Chini Krishna sir, thank you so much for the inspirational address. It was wonderful. Thank you, Manish sir, also for the address. I think quickly we will start off. I welcome all of the panelists once again. Sir, hearty welcome, warm welcome to this forum. Thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedules and being with us today. The topic for our first address here is better cities for pets and indie companion animals. We also do not like to refer to them as strays, right? Now, what does this basically encompass? We want to talk about the state of animal welfare regarding our indie companion animals on the streets today, the current situation, what we are doing, and what can we do from a long-term impact creating perspective, right? So, Dr. Chini Krishna, I'd like to call upon you first, maybe the first question from a context setting perspective. So we talk about better cities for pets and indie companion animals. How would you define it? What does it mean to you as a concept?
There are a lot of conflicts in most cities between people who like animals and people who don't like animals or who are indifferent to animals. Unfortunately, much of this can be solved by communication, proper communication. And every pet owner and animal activist, as they call themselves, must learn to practice responsible pet ownership. We must look, if we, in the flats, in most residents' welfare associations, the complaints are that they dirty the lifts, they use common areas. It is the responsibility of the person who has the animal to really clean up after their animal. We can't expect people who don't like animals to put up with this kind of behavior, and then this can also be solved if they talk nicely back and say, okay, I'm sorry, it shouldn't have been done, I'll clean it up. But they take the attitude that, it's my dog and a dog has equal rights to do what it is. If their child dirties a lift, they would certainly clean up after their child. I see no reason why they should not clean up after the dog. We had a major problem in Boat Club Road about 7-8 years ago, and it was solved by just meeting everybody who was taking their dogs for a walk there, saying, if your dog is a dog that tends to be or look aggressive, please make sure it's on a leash in common areas. Please make sure you clean up after the dog. That's half the problem solved right away. And the second point is, once everybody knows that the dogs on the street have been vaccinated and sterilized, they pose a far smaller problem to the other road users. If we can speed up the ABC program in the cities at least, where the density of population is much higher, the amount of confrontations would go down considerably.
Thank you, Dr. Chini Krishna. I think the road to a better city for pets first starts with being a good city for pets, right? We've continuously heard good, better, best. And from what I've heard, Chennai definitely seems to be good, given the support of the corporation, given the support of Blue Cross of India and the work that we are doing. Right now, we would be taking a couple of questions for Mr. Manish here, who would shortly be taking leave from us. So if the panelists or the media or the other stakeholders here in the room would like to direct their questions, we have time for 2-3 questions, please. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning to everybody here. It's really nice to see that we are all in solidarity for the same cause. Thank you, Mas, for arranging this beautiful seminar and project. This question is addressed to you, sir, Commissioner. I talk on behalf of all the feeders and the rescuers across Chennai. So what we actually face on a day-to-day basis is recently we've been distributing water bowls to keep at different places. They come back and tell me, ma'am, the bowl is being removed by the corporation because of the dengue and the mosquito menace. So if there's a small request that you can tell your people that this bowl is kept for the cows as well as the dogs and the cats and the crows and all of that. So I think if you can kindly request, this was highlighted and brought to my attention. So I thought it is definitely important for me to represent them. So this is the first point. If all of Chennai can be instructed not to remove the bowls, because we take great pains and efforts to keep those bowls against all will and fancy from everybody, but then we fight our way through and say this bowl must be there for the children. So that's how I would like to bring this to your attention. The second thing that I would like to address is, yes, Blue Cross, and we have different, clinics, hospital clinics that like BMAD and all of them supporting us when we take our rescues. But after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, we are all stranded. We do not know where to go because going to private practitioners gets very expensive for us. First, we do not have, to begin with, our rescuers are all willing to do the work, but then they say, ma'am, where do we go? So we are standing with a dog completely bleeding and we do not know where to access. So the first challenge we face is the transport. So I would like to have some kind of ambulance facility for all these children to be rushed to a clinic or a hospital. So that is the first. So if you can get some logistics in place, if that can really, really help us, which is absolutely free of cost, we will have more rescuers, more volunteers to come forward and help these kids. But otherwise, people are backing out because of, shortage of financial help. That is one. Second thing is we would like to have some kind of a 24-hour clinic, which we have midnight. Most of them are midnight accidents. So we work round the clock, 3 o'clock, 2 a.m., and we don't know where to go. If we go to a private practitioner, they give us fancy bills, which we can't afford. So that is something, if the cooperation comes together and we get something for our children, I think that's something very important. And South Chennai, the main veterinary hospital is on the, I think, northwest. But South Chennai, we do not have anything round the clock. So something, I don't want it in such a grand fashion, but at least for emergencies right through the night, if we can go and access somebody, some clinic or hospital, South Chennai definitely needs attention. And that's what I thought I could bring to your attention, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valid suggestion, ma'am. This bowl for animals, this we will instruct right away, ma'am. Not an issue. This is very much needed, and due to the summer season, even that mosquito biting has reduced. So this basically for animals, and many activists are also requesting in the Marina beach also many places they are keeping. So that definitely will ensure, ma'am. Regarding the 24/7 clinic, we'll have a discussion with Commissioner sir. And internally, definitely this is a much needed thing what you're telling, that will address even the dogs who are getting injured in the night time and this thing, ma'am. And South Chennai, we have one center, Meenambakam, but that only we are creating into ABC center. So, and Shonikalandru also APC center will come. So, this two places we will see, ma'am, where it is feasible, we will have pet clinic and this facility. Yes, ma'am. Correct, ma'am.
To go to, and if some hospital can be created, for us, South Chennai, especially South Chennai,
Yes.
because we cannot come all the way to the veterinary hospital. So this is something that if you can kindly help us out.
Definitely, madam.
South Chennai, definitely, somewhere even centralized, somewhere near Adyar. I think that is completely, we can surround that area. Mylapore, Alwar Pet, all these people can come there.
Surely,
So
surely.
if that is
We'll,
something you can consider.
We'll work on it, ma'am.
Yeah, and at least, and basic doctors should be available.
Yes, ma'am.
For us, that is our main criteria, with some X-ray facilities and, all that.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, this is, I'm in the field for last 30 years. I see many people started adopting Indies. Okay, I see that there's a definite growth in adopting the Indies. The first problem they faces, many people sometimes, the major issue is most of the apartments, I can say about more than 50% of the apartment, not allows the pet to be inside. They say the pet is not allowed. I don't know. So I think corporation can indulgence. See, because of that, they go and feed the dog. They'll just go. They want to spend something or do something for their Indies. They are feeding the dogs on the street. Okay, they want to have a pet in a home, but it is not approved by the flat owners. And I think corporation can indulge in that and then pass an order. So it should be, it should be allowed for. Without any hesitation. This is my one of the major request. And other thing I'll be talking in the panel. Okay, about how to move forward. This is.
Could I add something to this? Number one, the Blue Cross for the last 3 months or more have a clinic up to 9 o'clock at night. We don't close at 5. Emergency cases are treated round the clock. We have a resident doctor who stays on the premises, but it should be genuinely an emergency case. I mean, I know for a rescuer who sees a dog bleeding from the leg or something, it's an emergency for him always. But wherever possible, let him, if it has to be rushed to the hospital, the Blue Cross works round the clock. We have the clinic open officially till 9 o'clock every night. Number one. Number two, talking about the pet registration, the pets in RWAs and in housing colonies, the registrar of societies under whom all these registered housing societies come, has it on their website that it is illegal for any resident welfare association to refuse to have pets in their complex. Once again, it is up to the people who own the pets to make sure that the dogs don't unduly bark and disturb other people, clean up after the pet and things like this. But the law says that nobody can be discriminated against because they have a pet. The registered welfare association have no right to ask them to take the pets out. It's the dogs in the complex, which are free roaming dogs, that can also be solved if the people there get together and decide to feed them like they did in Pacifica, Aura Pacifica in Navalur. Find a place where the animals can be fed and feed them a little far away from the buildings. So we can do a lot if all the pet owners or the animal people who are interested in animals get together and talk nicely to people.
In the interest of time, I'm so sorry, sir. Please.
We were all talking about how many lakhs of animals, dogs that are there in the streets. And one of the most, the biggest problem for all these dogs is the viral diseases like CD and Parvo that the dogs get. And the easiest way to prevent that is to give them the DHPPI vaccine. And while it's possible for an NGO or an individual to do for a few dogs, it's not possible for all of us to do for all the lakhs of animals that are there. And I feel that since the corporation has a parent's role towards the dogs in the city, they should find a budget for vaccinating all the dogs. And since you have a veterinary department also under your control, maybe that you should take it up. That's my request.
In the interest of time, we'll just take two last questions. Dr. Rajalakshmi and Ms. Sarah in that order.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And my question is to Dr. Manish. But before I ask my question, I'd like to share a very heartening experience that I had working with the Greater Chennai Corporation. I work with autistic children. And last year, right in the middle of the pandemic, we had a wall art event in Sholing Nallur in association with Greater Chennai Corporation, Singara Chennai 2.0. And it was wonderful to see the children come out and engage with these autistic children, both neurotypical and the topic was inclusive education. From my experience at that event, I would like to ask you if it's possible to sensitize children and engage with children in corporation schools, with the corporation schools as a venue, because the infrastructure there has tremendously improved. That again is another interesting thing that I noticed, where we can engage with these children, have some events, or get enough mileage and getting the media to cover the events, where we can teach the children and also make them understand the importance of adopting indie dogs, and also other aspects of we can tie in with autism and have an event where children are sensitized and we engage with them so that we can catch them early on. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. There is another office, ma'am, Deputy Commissioner Education. I definitely put a word to her, ma'am. We'll have it, ma'am. Definitely. This is already this kind of programs we are already having in our corporation schools. We'll definitely engage, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, and thank you, Mars, for giving us this platform actually to improve the life of the street animals. This is a question to Dr. Manish. Two questions very quickly. Or rather two suggestions, if you could help us with it. So we are an NGO. I run a shelter with about 150 dogs. Now, is there some way that the corporation can actually help NGOs to do ABC along with what you all are already doing? Yes, you have 3 pounds and you all are coming up with 2 more pounds, but we need aggressive ABC if we really need to make a change, that too quickly. So like I said, if an NGO like us, we have done 100 in the past couple of months, is it possible for you to engage more NGOs to help out with the ABC program apart from what you all are doing? And the second thing is the feeders. Feeders is a lobby which you can that can be great help to us, to NGOs as well as to the corporation, because their feeders are feeding 50 dogs, 60 dogs. They know the dogs, so even to catch the dogs, they are ready to bring the dogs for the ABC. Now, instead of just bringing them to the pounds, if we can have different NGOs take up different areas. We have 15 zones, okay, and there are plenty of NGOs who are ready to do this work. If you could provide support to us, NGOs like us and many others, you take a zone or take a particular area or a locality and get the dogs there, the ABC done with the help of the feeders. We will be able to work fast. So like I said, that's something you could look at, where you could be a great support to NGOs to have this aggressive ABC treatment going ASAP. Thank you.
Right now also, as we are engaging with Blue Cross of India, and definitely ma'am, your suggestion, like other NGOs also, we should get involved. I think one of the major issue might be that charges from Blue Cross of India, they are also saying that the charges for ABC surgeries, that is a major one issue will be there. So that we will discuss.
Okay, so if you give us part, I mean, we NGOs are ready to put in the other part. We'll work out something. So we just need the support, and the go ahead from you all to get it going, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further suggestions or any questions will be there? My Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr. Kamal, is there, and veterinary assistant surgeons are also there. So definitely these points I have noted it down. We will definitely come the answers from our side, and definitely we will engage with because that is the only way of what Madam also told, that we need that aggressive ABC surgeries, and that too region specific, not to complaint specific. So then only we will be able to control both the issues. So definitely I will work on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the Q&A. We will continue with the panel discussion. Thank you so much, Manish sir, for addressing the questions. We'll continue in the same vein as Dr. Chini Krishna also mentioned about the human-animal conflict in residential societies. It works both ways, right? Pet parents as well as non-pet parents need to take responsibility. Now, there are two aspects to it, and Dr. Jayaprakash sir, I'd like to bring you in here. One aspect is where you have pet parents in the society and non-pet parents object to, walking the dog or littering, etc., where responsible pet ownership states you need to clean up, right? However, there is also a segment of pet lovers who take care of street animals within the societies, wherein a lot of conflict erupts. We've seen it on the news and it becomes a huge issue. So what's the way forward? Is it education? Is it awareness? How can we resolve this amicably?
Yes, sir. You can. Yeah. This is being a veterinarian and also a teacher teaching. I was in the academic side for 30 years. I just want to tell about the present scenario in education. Okay, then I'll go to the next thing. That's many people are there. They will talk about that. They know. Say, I learn from them. I learn the compassion from them. Okay, I want to tell. See, the education in India is not like in abroad. Say where the people who are joining veterinary institution, they have to go to pre-vet school, and they have to work in some other places in like animal shelters. Then that is a criteria for criteria for selection, but it is not here. Most of the doctors who are selected here, they opted first for the medicos. Then if they are failed, they are entering into the veterinary field. The compassion towards animal is they develop later. Only few people maybe may develop, may not develop, and they may not know. I am very sure that 99% of the people doesn't know. The doctors who comes out of the education doesn't know what is animal welfare, what is animal welfare is going out, how the Blue Cross is working, how the other peoples are working. They may not know because they are not exposed. They are not exposed before they come to the clinic education, and after the education also they are not. During the education also. In fact, I want to insist when the VC, I thought the VC will be here. I know what happened itself because, but you have to tell to the not to the VC, to the VCI also. You have to inform that during the course, the education period, at least during the clinical rotation, they should be exposed to the different, at least for 15 days in rotation. We are rotating, so they are going to a different place like surgery like that. 6 months they are going rotating. During the rotation, at least they should be exposed to some of the animal shelter. They should work in a animal shelter so that they know what is going on, and people know, develop a compassion what is going on. This is my major point to insist on that. No, in fact, I will also inform my VC. I'm going to talk to them. This forum should develop not only that to the VC also. This is my one of my thing.
Thank you.
See, Dr. Sydney and I were in AWBI, and I definitely remember AWBI writing to the VCI about including animal welfare in the curriculum of veterinary science. I don't know whether that has been taken up or not, but some effort was taken at that time.
Including in a rotation. This is exposure. They require some exposure, but they say that you should know. Many of them are come from the villages, the village people. They may not know what is safe. If they ask them what is animal welfare, they may not know. What is NGO for animal, they may not know. How many NGOs are working, they may not know. Only people who comes out, they wanted some work, they are approaching some people, and there also their compassion towards animals is not there. If you are exposed, then there are people, about at least 10% of the people, they know they want to work for them. Say, I know some of the doctors who worked with me, she left after learning, she want to work with the Blue Cross. She said, I want to work after working with me. See, this kind of attitude develop only when you expose to that kind of environment. So what you can do, we can very well tell them to include as a rotation. Can be done by VC. Any VC can just pass order. Yeah. VC also can include. It's a exposure. Let's say there is a rotation where the people are exposed to the industries. Industries like any industries, like dairy industries. This is not a curriculum. It's not in a curriculum, but it's like that. The exposure should be there to the doctors, so that they know. Then when you see the people working, when the volunteers are working, when they're dedicating the service, they also develop some little bit of the passion towards animal. That's my thing. This being a thing, you have to inform to VCA first. I'll ask VCA chairman also, and my VC also. This is also will add up to it.
Thank you, Dr. Jayaprakash. It's a very pertinent point that you raise in terms of curriculum exposure as well as building compassion towards animals. And I think MAS can work towards building this advocacy with VCI. Just continuing in the same vein, Dr. Chini Krishna, maybe if I can just ask you to add on to this human-animal conflict in residential societies that's going on, the way I asked Dr. Jayaprakash also. If we can have your thoughts on what is the amicable resolution going forward?
To start with, we do have the law on our side. But then, so much more can be got by cooperation and talking nicely to people than by confrontation. If you put a person's back up against the wall, the conflict is going to continue below the surface. I'll let you in onto some other information now. The Blue Cross of India has finalized a program for street dog feeding for feeder cards. This has been done with the permission and the knowledge of the DGP, Dr. Sailendra Babu, who's very, very much of an animal lover, especially street dog lover. And he has appointed a senior officer in his office to be the contact person as far as cruelty to animals are concerned and harassment of street dog feeders. I will be willing to share this in maybe 2 or 3 days. Before the 15th of the month, I'll make sure Mr. Vinod puts it out on our Facebook page or our website. It's being handled by Bob Tangadore, and he's the coordinator from the Blue Cross point of view. He's the managing director of an IT company who spends maybe 4 or 5 hours every day, 7 days a week working on this. So we are working, we are seeing a more humane government. Honestly, the fact that finance minister has set aside 20 crores for helping animal welfare organizations in the state during the current budget itself speaks a lot about it. We have a good commissioner, we have a good DGP. I think we should all capitalize on it, and we can capitalize on it. He has also agreed to have special training programs for the police officers in their academy once a month, while some of us will be going and talking to them. Once again, I can only stress that with 78 years of experience, I can tell you one thing. Much more can be got by talking nicely to people than by going and fighting with them.
Thank you, sir. I think well put that. I'll move to Dr. Kamal Hussein, sir. Welcome. Thank you for being with us, sir. Sir, I think one of the key pillars towards having a better city for pets or better city for our street companion animals is adoption, right? However, today we see tremendous barriers to adoption and challenges probably in terms of mindset, as well as a lot of pet parents, prospective pet parents say, where do we go? We do not know. So, sir, what do you think are the barriers to adoption and how we can overcome these barriers and probably move to a state where more and more people are adopting Indies?
Sir, from our part of this is the people, they have to come forward. We can give the awareness and the sensitization program, but the mindset of people has to change.
Awareness and sensitization drives and education is what is it?
Yes, awareness and education is good. From the school children itself, we have to start.
Right from the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Schools, we need to teach children how to work with it. Thank you so much. Miss Neela Tatu ma'am, would you like to add to that?
Yes, from pet biotech point of view, we help veterinarians do the right diagnosis so that all animals, whether they are street animals or pet animals cared by pet parents at home, they all receive the right diagnosis and the right treatment. We are already known in over 20 cities in India, more or maybe more, for helping out all kinds of rescue groups, NGOs, pet hostels, wherever street animals are cared for their diagnosis. So I would like to, just tell everybody that we have been very cooperative so far. People have understood that we want to help in this area, and they come forward to us, and we will do everything that we can. So that is as far as the diagnosis, disease diagnosis is concerned, where we are the link between the animals and the veterinarians and the people who are trying to care for these animals. The other thing that we are trying to do, is it working or? Yeah, okay. The other thing that we are trying to do is catch them young, as everybody is trying to say right now, catch children in their school going age to understand, to make them understand the importance of the health of animals around them and how to help in the society to take care of these animals. There's a slightly different concept now that we have given to this. We have a knowledge park which is situated at the city limits. So the city is now encroaching into this tiny little village, which was working in a very natural way for a very long time. Just like Dr. Chini Prakash said earlier, it was in our culture that all these animals cohabited with us, and nobody was a nuisance, nothing was wrong. But with the city encroaching these places in all sorts of ways and very rapidly, the the balance over there is tipping, and we are trying to help in this particular experiment that we're doing with one village to catch that area young before that problem becomes a problem. Have a census of all the animals that don't belong to anybody, done by the panchayat with the help of school children, so that school children are engaged in it. Everybody knows what is happening, because if your school children are engaged in it, then the parents are engaged in it, obviously. So everybody knows what's happening, and everybody knows what it is that we are trying to do for them. And if we catch this problem before it starts, fantastic.
I think well said, ma'am. Basically, what you're trying to say is through health, disease prevention, and grassroots level education, you are facilitating the change in thought process, which eventually will move to more and more adoptions. Ms. Sarah, I also want your opinion here on what do you think are A, barriers to adoption, and B, post adoption also, how can an adoption be successful? In today's day and age, we see a lot of indies being adopted into households, but then after a certain point in time, due to either anxiety issues or traumatic issues in the past, they are given up, right? How do we try, will pet registration help? What would help to have successful adoptions also going forward?
See, one of the main reasons that people are hesitant to adopt indies is, or any dog, is that they feel that the society will not agree to having a dog. There are people who are actually they move, they relocate, and okay, the new the new landlord is not ready to accommodate the dog, so they have been leaving their 14-year-old, 15-year-old dogs, abandoning them. So I think that's one very important thing where the society, people in general, neighbors, they have to be more accepting, of a dog. That's one of the big barriers. Also, when they travel, they don't have anywhere to keep their dog, so it becomes like a huge responsibility where only either the father can go out or the mother can go out. Who's going to look after the dog? So we need more, foster care or shelters where these dogs can be kept. So when they come back, they are pretty happy to get the dog back. So these two, I think, are very. If we have a better, understanding where we all society works together, and helps out people, encourage them. Okay, you can adopt a dog because when you have to go out, we are here to look after your dog. That's one thing which I feel is very important. And these are the cases where people they abandon their dogs. And the other one, I think, is just the general attitude of why would I adopt an indie street dog? It's like it's just an indie kind of thing because there are so many, right? So that is why, like I keep saying, an ABC program is very important. You cannot have dogs and dogs and dogs. People are like, oh, why should I go out and take one from the street kind of thing? So I think these are the two main barriers.
Moving on, Don Williams, sir, welcome. We're very happy to have you with us here today. Sir, I think a better city for pets or indie street animals cannot happen without having a better city for pet parents, as well as better city for community caregivers, which are our rescuers, feeders on the street. Sir, you being at the paramount of rescue, maybe can you help us understand how do we create an equitable environment for these community caregivers so that they can, in a very good environment, give caregiving as well as rescue, as well as feeding, as well as maybe drive adoptions and ABC on the streets?
Animal caregivers or dog feeders, they are very responsible people, and their responsibility does not end there by feeding dogs or caring for dogs. They should be responsible dog feeders or dog caregivers. Get the dogs vaccinated, get the dogs sterilized, and if they need help, they can ask some NGO, any NGO, to assist them. So my point of view is responsibility. They should take responsibility in animal birth control programs and animal ARV, the anti-rabies vaccines. That will give the society a better look. People, the population of dogs will reduce. They can assist the Chennai Corporation in catching dogs when they come, because they are socializing with them. They will assist the corporate. They are very good. They can assist the corporation when the corporation vehicle comes to catch dogs, because the dogs are very intelligent. They see the vehicle, they will flee. But if these people can keep the dogs, and when the corporation comes, hand them over, they can get them back. I think responsibility is very important.
Sure, thank you, sir. We'd also like to call upon Dr. Rubina Mandal, who is joining in from Kolkata virtually. Ma'am, if you can hear us.
Yes, can you hear me?
We haven't been able to see you yet, but we know you are with us in spirit. There you go. Hi, Dr. Rubina. Welcome to the forum. Glad to have you here. So, ma'am, I think we were discussing how do we create a better world or a better city for pets and our indie street companion animals. So I think the first point on that front would be, and we've spoken about this in the panel today as well, that what do you think today are the barriers to adoption, given that the kind of research you're doing at IISER and the kind of surveys that you're floating? I have also been a part of the survey. What are the barriers to adoption today in the minds of the prospective Indian pet parent? And how do we, at least in the long run, get over these barriers? We can see some initial trends where people are adopting indies, but how do we, sensitize the prospective Indian pet parent more and more going forward?
Okay, so first things first, I think one of the largest barrier to adoption of indies is the whole cultural perception.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, so it's first and foremost is the cultural perception of the Indian dog. Like they are dirty, they cannot be trained, they cannot, they do not make good like good house companions or make adequate companions for kids. So this is the whole cultural barrier that first and foremost needs to be changed. The second thought is that breed dogs are somehow always better. So the first part of the of my own research, which I put it out through the survey, it actually wanted to look at the behavior of adopted Indians as to how they behave in the house, and I have received some very interesting answers, and I hope that if we can make a kind of a blueprint of what to expect when you adopt an Indian dog and what kind of behaviors that you might be expecting them to show at home, and the fact that they are showing high levels of being able to be trained and things like that, I think we can use those kind of research to make a push through towards the towards higher adoption of Indies. Another thing that I found that through this survey itself, that shelters actually form a very small percentage of the adopted Indian dogs who are already in homes. Like only around 11% of the dogs, the pet owners they said that they had adopted from the shelters. So most of them, like over around 80% of the pet owners said that they adopted their indies from the streets. So we need to find out ways to increase this adoption from the shelters, so as to reduce the burden on the shelters themselves, and find ways as to how we can maximize this whole trend, because outside in the west, more than 40 or to 50% of the adoptions actually take place from the shelters. But also the fact that shelters out in the west, they act very differently compared to the shelters in India, because shelters in the west, they act for animal control also, but that is not the case of how shelters work in India. So whenever someone thinks of adopting a dog from the shelter or from the streets, they also assume that indies need a lot of space to roam around. So they say, ki, "Oh, I should not be adopting an indie. They like to uh, I cannot keep them in the house." So that is also something that we need to see. Like we need to have more pet-friendly spaces, more pet-friendly housing, and better access to healthcare, at least for the basic vaccinations, the basic necessities. It has been shown that if you have an affordable, easy to access pet care facilities, then the chances of the pet owner taking or rather making use of these facilities is higher, which will lead to a better health not only for the pet but also from the perception of the other residents in that area. And apart from that, I think definitely pet registration, responsible pet ownership, and also cracking down on backyard breeding. All of these things are definitely necessary to increase the adoption of indies.
Now, we will come back to you again. And on that note, we would want to call upon Dr. Kamal Hussein. Sir, I think she mentioned a very pertinent point about lack of pet-friendly spaces, which I think, let's say, can we have more parks, pet-friendly parks, more pet-friendly restaurants, resorts, more pet-friendly offices, for that matter, the way Mass Petcare has. This will probably lead to a better city for pets as well. And just to access these pet-friendly spaces, can we have more pet-friendly transit as well? Probably not public transport, but at least Olas and Ubers. Can we have advocacy with them to have at least, let's say, pet-friendly options for transport, right? So, your point of view.
So that decision we cannot take this. The Ola or Uber, they have to decide on it. We can advise them. In our parks, we are allowing pets also. In private area, they are malls. That thing they have to decide. For our parks, we are allowing all the pets.
I think that's very kind of the corporation. Dr. Chini Krishna, your views, do we have enough pet-friendly spaces today in cities, and do you think this leads to a better city for pets?
We do have veterinary facilities in the cities, but many of them are professionally run, and those people also have to earn a living, so they do charge. Getting free treatment has two drawbacks. Number one, anything given totally free gets devalued. So everybody has to, if they want to have the pleasure of having a pet, there is an expense and a cost involved. when the Blue Cross started 60 years ago, we used to have a huge poster in our adoption center which said, how much is the doggy in the window? And we used to list all the expenses that a person would incur when he or she adopts an animal. The problem is that we took it down because we found that many people who were on the verge of adopting began to think twice. Oh, we have to vaccinate, we have to do this. Once they've adopted it and they fall in love with the dog, and most people who take a dog especially, very difficult not to fall in love with it. A cat is a different, the cat falls in love with the owner. But that's why they say dogs have owners, cats have stuff. We have to cater to their every whim and fancy. But the fact is that there is an expense involved in looking after an animal. For an indie, the cost is minimal. And for those who can't afford it, the board in the Blue Cross says it all. It says it costs so much to run this place. For those who can't afford to pay, the treatment will be free. We do that for our crematorium. We do that for our OP department also. Even the surgeries are done free for people who have to be, all they have to do is register online. Our ambulance picks it up, does the operation, and then we drop it back after 5 days or so. And if a person demurs about paying, we do it totally free of charge. But it's difficult to expect a professional veterinarian to keep providing free treatment because he has taken up this thing as a profession. We do it because, well, we are fools probably. Anyway, we do it because we believe in what we are doing and it gives us pleasure. As I was telling somebody, everybody in this world does things to maximize his or her pleasure. If it didn't give us pleasure, we wouldn't be doing it. But for the villages and places outside, things are difficult. There are very few. For example, we are getting somebody from Salem tomorrow. They don't have even an NGO which can undertake the ABC program, which the municipality in Salem is willing to support. So they are coming to us to ask us whether we will help them to get the contract from the Salem municipality. The Salem municipality are paying only 600 rupees or 675 rupees per animal. It costs them 1,600 or 1,500 rupees minimum. And they are doing it, spending 1,000 rupees per dog from their pocket. These are two ladies from Salem who are coming in. But things are improving a lot. For example, just over the last few days, somebody mentioned about pets and other things. The HDFC Bank in Coimbatore repossessed a building. They took the building and they put it on the lock and key under court order. There were 2 cats stuck inside. And they were there for 2 days. Finally, we spoke to the HDFC Bank, we spoke to the collector of Coimbatore. The collector said, we have to get a court order. Her assistant said, we will break down the door and take the cats out. So things can be done if they want to. In Avadi, there's a commissioner called Sandeep Rai Rathore. There was a cat which had been locked in Avadi day before yesterday. He just broke the window and took it out. So you can get a lot of things get done. There are veterinary facilities in Avadi. There is a clinic in Avadi. There is a hospital in Avadi. But then, you can't get round the clock treatment. Unless, and as far as shelters are concerned, let's face it, how many shelters can anybody build? What we have to aim for is to make the whole country a shelter. We don't need 4 walls to be built to say this is a shelter. India is a shelter for animals. We have been a shelter for everybody for thousands of years. Animals have always been there. IIT, for example, they are encroaching on forest land. And the 135 dogs that were in IIT, 187, were all systematically killed. And only the remaining 25 have been taken out under the High Court's instructions and kept in a shelter today. What are we talking about? This is a place of learning. These are all uneducated literates. They can't even, they are doing things against the law, and the courts have also supported them. So what do we say? It is an uphill battle. Sometimes we get frustrated. It's when we meet people like this, when we know that we are not really alone. So I have to once again thank Mars for getting all of us together, because, as I said, we once again reinforce the fact that we are not alone. Together in unity, there is indeed great strength. Let's all work together. When we fight among ourselves, and I know that every animal welfare organization doesn't think identically. When we fight among ourselves, the only animals to really suffer, the only people to really suffer are the animals. So let's work together, and together we can do a lot of things. Even this feeder card, for example, we are requesting everybody there. Please contact the police only in case there is a genuine need. Far as possible, talk nicely to the neighbors and try to get them to understand. If required, Mr. Kurunchi Selvam, who's the contact person in the DGP's office, will immediately telephone and tell the local police station, go and settle it amicably, don't file an FIR as far as possible. So things can be done. We have to do it. The third one is about a dog giving great companionship. Yesterday, we had a case in the Blue Cross, employee from TCS, who was based in Sao Paulo, has been having epileptic fits from the time he was born. His neurosurgeon there recommended that he has a service dog. He got a service dog with a lot of difficulty. He brought it into India after keeping it in quarantine. In India, he cannot take the dog in a plane because no plane airline is willing to take it. Indigo finally gave him a letter saying, we will take it, provided you get a letter from the Blue Cross that this is a service dog. There is no organization in India to certify service dogs, not even the seeing eye dogs, that's dogs for the blind. Everywhere in the world, they have an organization that certifies seeing eye dogs. In India, we don't even have an organization to certify a seeing eye dog, let alone a service dog. But we gave him a letter. We said, for whatever it's worth, we'll give you a letter. Both British Airways and Indigo have accepted a letter, and they let him take the dog by flight today.
So I think better cities for pets also encompasses having better intercity transit, probably maybe on flights as well, on trains as well, which today is a cumbersome process. Dr. Rubina, I'll come back to you. A street is no place for a dog to live, like Dr. Jenny Krishna said. However, the Mars EPH index is now reporting that post-COVID, there have been around 40% of pet parents who have abandoned their dogs, right? Now, what is the solution to this? How do we tackle this? Is it training? Is it mandatory pet registration? Is it more education and awareness? How can we tackle this?
I think it's a combination of all three. So from what the research has shown in abroad, especially like during COVID, the pet owners faced increased restrictions, not just on getting the food or getting affordable veterinary care, or even taking their pets out for their daily activities, which kind of made them face this increased mental pressure, not only for themselves but also for their pets, which kind of led to an increased abandonment. Also, there was this other aspect of it that during COVID, there was a surge to buy pets because everybody was isolated. So they thought that getting a dog or getting a cat would alleviate the boredom. And then when they actually came to face with the reality about owning and the responsibilities which are associated with getting a pet, and then they realized that once the lockdown started lifting up and everything, they thought that we no longer need the pet, and so they leave the pet. So now so COVID was a special situation, but then abandonment, pet abandonment is a very everyday daily life thing. So from what I have seen, like pet abandonment is usually because either they don't want to spend on getting that pet treated or something for whatever medical reason that there is, or they know they can't shift with their pet to elsewhere, or they can't have any affordable stuff. So we need to take care of we need to focus first on the factors which are actually leading to pet abandonment in India, because we do not know the major causes, like what is causing the pet abandonment. Is it just breed dogs? Is it breed dogs and indie dogs who are often abandoned? Are there the behavioral issues which are the major causes of pet abandonment? Because in the West, usually it is the expectations of what the pet owners expect from their dogs to behave, and the dog does not show that expected behavior. So these behavioral issues are one of the major causes. Is it the same in India though? Or is it the expensive veterinary bills which can cause the pet abandonment in India? So we need to identify the cause first before we can delve into what can be done. But having said that, if behavioral issues are still the main factor out here also, which is leading to abandonment, then we need to find like more behavioral like like dog trainers or dog behavioral correction people who can help pet uh, pet parents solve the issue rather than having the pet owners abandon their pets simply because they cannot control their pet in that sense. So I think that can be a good call.
Finding the root cause and then going at it, I think, is
Yes,
what I'm saying.
100%.
Thank you, Dr. Ravina. Dr. Jayaprakash, I would like to bring you in here again. We heard aggressive ABC is the way forward to have better cities for indies. So how do you think we can scale up ABCs at multi-city levels across the country?
Once again.
So animal birth control program, how can we scale it up at an aggressive level? Aggressive ABC is the way forward to have lesser indies on the street and hence lesser suffering and hence a better world for indies.
ABC is being taken care by many people, especially say there are clinics in abroad. They have a private clinic. They do ABC in less cost. So less cost surgeries are going on. Some of the people there's a clinic exclusively for less cost surgery. Because low cost surgery being taken care by a clinic. Can be done by a private peoples. And I just want to know, I want to tell something about this. Many people started adopting, taking NGOs and keeping the dog and doing some surgeries all over. And may say basically the NGOs should have a minimum basic facilities. I have seen some of the NGOs, they keep the dog 100 dogs in a small place where what they feel feeding the dog is sufficient to take care of the dog. That is not they should have a minimum space for the dog, okay, minimum facility for the dog. Suppose something happened to the dog, then there should be a minimum facilities. They're keeping 100 dogs in a place and doing a surgery 100 dogs. It's not a aim. You are doing wrong thing to the animal rather than giving a good thing. Just keeping in mind that we are going to do this much of ABC. That is not that. It's also a human being. You say take it. It's also one of the animal. Say it has also go to surface. They should have a minimum facilities to take care of the ABC program, and that should be taken care. Dog should be taken care post-operatively for some time. Then should live. This is basic. Okay. I've seen people, they say they fix a target. Even and corporation, I don't want to insist on that. I'm just informing. They have started giving to this work to the private peoples. They started doing surgeries. I don't know how many surgeries are they doing. They increase. I have people in other states. I don't know here, other state. Few of the doctors become very rich because of the ABC program. How they become rich? You are giving only 450 rupees, something 500 rupees. This is meager cost for them, but there is no monitoring for the doing a surgery. See, they just come there and they would report that I have done a surgery for 100,000. Whether they have done it or not, I don't know. We will know. See, these kind of responsibility should fix to the people who are doing ABC. Then only you reach us. See, maybe with the number, you can say, this year I have done 1,000 ABC, but they would have done only 100 ABCs and got the money for 1,000. See, the reason for that, the government is not giving a sufficient amount. You cannot manage the surgery with whatever the available thing. At least some of the NGO gets a donation from this. These people, some of the NGOs completely depending on the government money. So what they've started boosting up this thing, or giving no facility to the dog, or they are using a cheaper medicine. cheaper, the surgical thing. So ultimately, it end up with the negative points. So you have the record. You have that this much of surgery is done in a record, but actuals are very less. So this has to be taken care by the corporation, whether they have done some. There are some of the precaution, and then when you are giving money to them, they should go and see whether this is actually doing. They are actually doing in a proper place. Then only the aim of say, if so many NGOs, so many government service, so many money is infected, by this time there should be a lot of improvement should have been done. There should be 50%, more than 50% of population would have been down now. Still the population is high. See, every time you see the population is siphoned as stray dogs. In stray dogs, man is in, they say stray dog menace. See, the population, you say there is no control over populations. These are the key point we should take up, professionally to take up by the authority who is giving money, and also the people who are taking the project should also keep it in mind. We are doing some service to the animal. This is my.
Dr. Kamal, would you like to add on to that?
Sir, in Chennai, we are running the 3 AB centers, sir. Only we are giving the dogs to BCI only. All other 3 centers are run by us. We are paying the remuneration based on the organs count, testicles and ovaries. Based on that only we are paying. So there is no chance for any deviation on that. Yeah. Yeah. In Chennai, no NGOs are involved, sir, except BCI.
I know one person, he has become court-body.
And medicines, sir.
He has about 10, in Andhra he has ABC program, he has Karnataka he has ABC program, he has one person managing all 3 ABC. Finally, Madam Gawati interfered and found out this is going on. This is what happening in, see, that too should be taken care because
okay. Here the population is
more. But these people are making use of this, and this as a veterinarian, I know.
Yes, sir.
Know very well.
Yes, sir. Per year we are doing now around 13,000 surgeries, sir. After completion of the 2 more centers, we will improve, sir. Finally, the population will be stabilized.
I think we can all agree, Dr. Kamal Hussain, like you rightly pointed out, multiple surgeries are happening, but then the population is in lakhs. In India, the population is in crores. Of course, it's a drop in the ocean. It'll take a lot of time, but we commend the efforts of the corporation, right? Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Even though I'm not in the panelist, I want to tell a few things about this. We all know that the ABC rules came out in 2001. Okay, and it's been 21 years now. And it's been more than 6 years since the Supreme Court actually gave a direction in the AWBI SLP that all local bodies should do ABCs in letter and spirit, and there should not be any deviation from that. But if you actually see the number of organizations or corporations actually doing the ABC, it's abysmally low in the whole country. we have organizations or even the corporations doing it in the metropolitan cities like Chennai or Delhi, Kolkata, and all that. But very few municipalities, in fact, panchayats, it's totally non-existent. ABC is not done in any of the panchayats. Okay, that is the reality. And one of the main reasons why we are still in that kind of thing is the lack of doctors. You need veterinary doctors, skilled veterinary surgeons for doing the surgeries. And where do all these veterinary surgeons go? In India, the maximum number of veterinary graduates after graduation go and join the animal husbandry department, who has absolutely no stake in the ABC program at all. Okay, they are the biggest employers of veterinary doctors in India. And they don't do ABC at all. And there are very few doctors who come and join an NGO like Blue Cross of India or any other organization where ABC is done. They get the experience and all that, and then go and join the animal husbandry department. So that's what happens. So unless NGOs or even the corporation can match the salaries of the animal husbandry department, which is the government, state government, and continue to retain them or attract more people, more veterinary doctors to come into this thing, we are going to remain in the same fiasco. I would say the same position. Okay, so for a country like a big country like India, we need to have even in Chennai, we need to have at least 5 to 6 minimum, or even 10 organizations along with the corporation who has to do it in an effective way to actually control the population or reach the target of 70% threshold that we are talking about. But we don't have. Okay, and even the corporation, even though they have 15 zones and they have a veterinary assistant surgeon in each of the corporation, they don't do the ABCs there. They in fact, they do the surgeries through other doctors only. So my suggestion to the corporation would be, since you have a qualified veterinary doctors in your payroll, why don't you send them to WVS or some place where they can get some training, and you can in fact entrust the ABC surgeries to the veterinary surgeons that you employ. Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
Surgery, yes. Routine training program will be conducted, sir.
Yeah.
See, your requirement is, your request is good, but they are already saturated. Their requirement, the veterinarian, what they have is saturated for their own work. They cannot send it to you. See, this is a one way of doing it. As I told you, if students are, PG students are, or students are rotated, so throughout the year, you will get a 3/4 surgery from the college. See, this is a curriculum where they will be forced to come and do the surgery, one way. The other way, government can, instead of giving some money to them, say they can post a person like they are posting the doctors, veterinary doctors to a forest department. You can ask for that. You just look to it, say anyway, whether he is in other place or this is same. They can post it for 1 year, 2 years as a deputation. They can do. This is one way, but that is a government policy. They cannot know. Like as a what I can say, as a worker for some times. This kind of work, what I can say, PG students who are doing surgery, say actually, according to the this one subject, people BVSC should have minimum knowledge of doing ABC. When they comes out of the BVSC, this is not a surgeon required for the ABC. In all over the world, minimum basic requirement for graduate to pass, they should have a knowledge of doing ABC. This is what now they have decided to VCS decided they should come with the knowledge of ABC, doing ABC for the animal. There's a minimum knowledge they should. They did not do the other surgery. So those kind of things, final year, people can be posted 15 days once. So you will get a throughout year, you will get a 3-4 doctors working to you. Okay, this is what we are deciding. With this can help solve the problem.
Jayaprakash sir, thank you so much. We are running out of time now. So in the interest of time, Sarah ma'am, maybe 30 seconds, the final word on a better world, a better city for pets, for indie companion animals. Is it a dream that we can all achieve together?
Yes, yes, absolutely. We all need to work together. We need to collaborate. I mean, we NGOs are here to help the government and the corporation, right? We are here to just support you. That's the only way forward. There's no way that, otherwise we can move forward. Working individually is really not helping. The only way to move forward and make a better world for our indies is to work together, collaborate with each other. And as far as I can see, we have started doing it. So that's a good way forward for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And with that, we come to the end of the first panel discussion. And just to summarize, I think this is a beautiful cross-functional collaborative forum where all of us have come together, wherein government, corporation, the common man, Mars, the corporate, all of us are here, activists, NGOs, shelters, all of us put together. We need to put our might together and reach that dream. It will take a lot of time. The magnitude of the problem is huge, but with great minds like you here, we will be able to achieve it. I just have one last line to add, that a better city for pets, the road to that is long and dark, but lovely and deep. We have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep. Thank you to our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samik. That was a beautifully moderated discussion. And thank you all the panelists and everybody for such an involved, enriching and enthusiastic discussion. We'll now move to our second panel. The second panel topic is One Health, which is basically equitable balance between nature, animal and humans. The panel will be moderated by Mr. Mohit Sinha, RSM South Mars Petcare. Mohit is BSc in Geology and an MBA from BIM Trichy. He has 14 years experience with organizations like Wipro Consumer Care, Abbott Nutrition and Mars Petcare. Mohit is also an indie pet parent. And to be very honest, we're really, really proud to have such dedicated pet lovers in our organization and our system that really helps us go on, move ahead and make a better world for pets. I'll just introduce our panel, our expert panel. Mr. Vinod Kumar Sankara Panikar, ex-AWBI official and General Manager Administration, Blue Cross of India. Dr. Rajlakshmi Kandaswamy, who specializes in treatment of autistic children and also runs the organization Pet League in Chennai. Dr. Utpal Tatu, IISc Bangalore expert and advisor to the Feline Club of India. Mr. Karthik, he's the manager, Mother of Animals. It's an NGO in Chennai. Ms. Sara Iyer, she's the founder, Madras Animal Rescue Society, which is also Mars. Ms. Chaya Devi, co-founder, Save Shakti Foundation, Chennai. Dr. Raj Mahesh, I don't think he's joined. Okay. Welcome. Dr. Raj Mahesh, consultant nephrologist, Apollo Hospital, and also looks after a number of street dogs. Thank you for being with us today, and over to you, Mohit.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vasudha. Thanks for the kind introduction, and a very warm welcome to the esteemed panelists. The topic for discussion that we have is One Health, equitable balance between nature, human, and environment. And on that note, I'd like to invite Dr. Utpal Tatu, because you've done some extensive work in that field, just for the larger interest of the group in terms of elaborating on the concept of One Health.
Thank you, Mohit, for that, asking me to narrate some ideas. Let me start with a question. What are the biggest outbreaks that you can think of, that you heard of in the last couple of decades? Think of any infection, and the names that will pop up in your mind are avian influenza, Nipah, Zika, Ebola. COVID, of course, is still, we are in the middle of it. One thing that's common among all of these, and the list is big, and if you think a little bit deeper, you'll realize that all of these actually came from non-humans, animals, birds, variety of animals, including bats. And that's really the topic that we're going to talk about today. For last 10 to 15 to about 20 years, we've actually seen, this problem staring at our face of infections jumping species barrier through mutations that keep happening in nature. Infections that we did not know of, we had not heard of. Infections that we had heard of but had never happened in humans. Re-emerging infections, emerging infections. And one thing common among all of these are they are coming from environment and a number of them from animals. Now, what are we going to do about this? COVID has really nailed the issue. This is the time when we now suddenly have to wake up and smell the coffee. It's really the final blow. And as Bill Gates has just actually said this somewhere, that the biggest pandemic is yet to come. There's going to be a bigger pandemic in future. And most likely it's going to come from animals. So when are we going to learn this lesson? With this sort of a specific example, I want to start this discussion for the esteemed panelists. I want to say that all the discussions we had in the first half of this wonderful panel discussion, which Mars has organized, are so very relevant for what we are going to talk today, because it really has to start at the grassroots level. People talked about education in the school. People talked about education for veterinarians. People talked about, the shelters, the pounds, the corporates. All of these have to work together to be able to prepare, to deal, to control, and to survive. We cannot prevent the pandemics. Let me tell you that. I've spent 35 years of my life researching on infectious diseases. So I can give it to you in writing. We cannot control the pandemic. Nature is smarter than us. For millions of years of evolution that we have gone through, what we are today, you and me, smart individuals, right? We conquer the nature. We've always believed that killing other beings is the way to increase our survival, to be better. This is why we are in problem. This is also true for animals. We intrude in other animal land and we kill them directly or indirectly. Not necessarily true for only big animals, but also at the level of microbes. We always kill microbes to think that we can survive better. We use antibiotics in a completely unregularized way. And we try to say that this is how we are going to do better. Human race will survive and conquer. This has to change. The strategy has to coexist. And this is what the first part of the discussion was. How are you going to coexist? And pets is a wonderful example. Dogs and cats and, of course, animals in general. So my 2 pence on this, and I don't want to take away time from wonderful points that I think we will hear from other colleagues, is that we have to learn to coexist. We can never, ever control the environment. We can never, ever, control animals, leave alone, of course, and the bugs, microbes, because I can tell you that they are smarter than us. Unless we take care of the environment, unless we take care of immediately the animals, because they are very close to us, dogs and cats, we will not survive. Human race is in great danger. It's not just about welfare. It's not just about being able to do the right thing. If you want to survive, wake up. And this is what I think the crux of today's discussion has to be that. With that, I just want to say one more thing, that when you talk about environment, of course, animals are the most important, but it also has to include soil, water, plants, and all of this. This is something that we must keep in mind. Animals are in great proximity to us because we love them, we hug them, we kiss them. Of course, very, very relevant because of the obvious reason that they have the great, we really have to keep them healthy. But also remember that environment is an unlimited word. That's something that you need to think about, but that's not relevant for today's topic. But with these few observations, I'd like to throw the floor open and ask Mr. Mohit to take forward.
Great. I think that was a great context setting. Thank you, Dr. Rutpal, for that. And just taking on the same point in terms of coexistence, I think that's a fairly large field when we talk about environment, nature, and human. What are those tiny steps that probably all the stakeholders who are here together in this room, what are those steps that we can eventually kind of take in that direction, which can help us to probably move at a speedy level in terms of kind of making it more positive impact in the overall society, and as well as how do we kind of take it forward to make it a lot more known to people? I mean, from an awareness level, from an amplification level, from taking them to understand it a lot more in their daily lives. So that question would be for you, Mr. Vinod.
See, coexistence with animals has been happening. I won't say that we are totally away from animals or anything of the sort, but there is a distinct lack of awareness among the general public about the diseases that animals have, and whether it will actually spread to the human beings or anything. Okay. You know that Blue Cross of India has been rescuing a lot of distressed animals every day from the streets, and our main focus is that. Okay. So what really happens is when an animal actually gets injured, people don't immediately come and inform Blue Cross of India. It's when the wound becomes really bad, becomes a maggot infested, and then starts smelling and think that they become scared whether the infection or something is going to affect them. And then they make the effort to call an organization or anything and try to mainly take them away, okay, so that they don't get things. So to a large extent, we need to explain to the people living in a place as to whether diseases of the animals will affect them or not, and make them become better by reporting about an animal. At least there in Chennai, the citizens are in fact in a more comfortable position where they can at least have an organization to report to. There are so many places in India where there's not even a single organization to look after distressed animals, where these animals, when they become sick or injured, they just suffer and die. Okay. So at least in a place where we have such organizations or people who are interested in helping animals, we have to play a more major role in making people become aware of all these things, so that they don't actually try to shun away animals and instead try to make them get them into their daily lives, and that way you can have more people actually adopt dogs, Indian dogs. Recently, a few months back, we have had a Bank of India official, a senior official, come to Blue Cross with his family, and they don't have a pet or anything, and suddenly after a few days when they came, I just talked to him, and I asked him. There was one dog. We have a few free roaming dogs inside Blue Cross, and I make it a point to interact with them, and they have become very friendly. Okay, so those dogs were actually interacting with that person. And one of the dogs is actually a dog with a tumor on its face. It had a tumor on its nose, and it came to Blue Cross, and it was operated, and it became all right. So I asked Mr. Roy whether he would be interested in adopting it, and it took one day, and then he came and said yes. And we were calling the dog Grace, and he took Grace to his home and renamed her as Stella. And the dog became part of their household family. And quite recently, actually, he was shifted because he had apprehensions as to what would happen, because he works in a transferable job. And last week, 10 days back, he was actually transferred to Bombay. And he came and asked for the letter and all, because he has to take the dog to the airport and all that. I provided him all the letters and all. Then the dog actually has gone now to Bombay. Okay, and he wrote a message saying that Stella has become a Mumbaiker. No. So, those are the kind of things that we need to actually do. Had I not spoken to Mr. Roy and offered him or suggested to him to actually take the dog, he would not have done it. Okay, because they will always have that thing that it will be difficult for a person who works in a bank when this is a transferable job to have a pet in his home and all. So we need more interaction with people to make the people understand about all this, and that should actually help.
Sure, sure. No, I think that's a pertinent point. And Mr. Rajamahesh, I think you are actively involved with animal rescue. Do you think it acts as a barrier in terms of people not having enough knowledge in public domain when they're rescuing animals and even thinking parallelly that there are some transmissible diseases? Should I actually get involved? Is that actually a barrier?
Yes. First of all, let me uh, clear this doubt about virus or bacteria spreading between species. See, viruses are very species specific. Like a feline distemper will not affect a dog and vice versa. And very few viruses actually jump the species barrier. So considering the number of animals we have in this world and the number of viruses, the actual number of viruses which spread like between species is very little. So I think it's an exaggerated thing to say that viruses spread through animals. So some bacteria do spread, and like we see canine distemper all the time. We deal with them. We don't get it. So very few in that way jump species. So I think we should reassure the society that most viruses which affect the dogs or cats doesn't affect humans. And we should be like, I'm a transplant physician. So the first thing, whenever we do a transplant, the first thing the family asks is, should we get rid of our pet? Should we stay away from it or get rid of it? And you know what my answer would be.
Sure. So just building a little more on that, do you think there is enough and more resource which is available to educate people? I mean, whether it is, let's say, to do with websites or specific set of people who are influencers who can actually cascade this information. Do you think that information is widely and readily available in public domain, which can help people kind of change their mindset?
We don't have enough information. I think it's our duty to spread this message that it is not very common for a virus to jump the species barrier.
Sure. Just taking a little further in terms of One Health overall as a concept, I think we've spoken about pets, dogs and cats. And given the fact that on the panel we have Chaya Devi, we have Dr. Rajalakshmi, and you are very passionately involved in terms of rescuing animals. Just wanted to take it a little further in terms of understanding. We talk a lot about making a better world for pets, but I think there is also a reciprocation. The pets make the world better for us as well, right? And I'm sure you can vouch for it. So maybe any incidents or anecdotes which has helped that, because it can break the barrier in terms of creating that mindset with people that more people need to come forward in terms of adopting and owning pets. So any builds on that, maybe we'll go in that order.
Yes, thank you for this question. Yes, as good citizens of the state as well as the city, we need to set examples for others. We had an incident at one of the temples where one of our children were run over, and it was a hit and run. So what we did was we kind of collected a lot of data about who did that, went to the local police station, reported the case, and this was flashed in all the media, etc. That what was the report about is that it was a hit and run. It was not. And then they said, who was run over? So I said it was a stray animal. It was our streeties, and this belonged to one of the temples, and we need to look into this. So you won't believe, I must thank the local police. Within the next half an hour, the car and the driver were both brought into the station, and we said, come now, let's face the music, and either you compensate for this child's thing. So because we had to go in for amputation, and here I must say thank you to the veterinary hospital who gave us shelter and treatment for the next 2 months because it was badly injured. So they gave us space and we were allowed to stay there, and we got this child out because distemper and kennel cough and all that was going on. So they said, you need to take the child out. So when we got this child out and we got the child amputated, Right now, this child is named Ramu. We didn't know his name, and he's right now with me. So we have taken him on because we did not have the heart to let him out. And Ramu has become our family member right now. Initially, he would not even enter the gate. He was told, I thought probably he had a kind of, thing that I need to stay out and I'm not inside. Then I told him, no, you're welcome into the house. So now he's welcome right up to our bedrooms. And he says, I'm not comfortable with the air conditioning because we're not used to that. But then he has become part of family right now. So we need to set examples for people. And when they see me walk this dog with 3 legs, he's an amputee case. They say, my goodness, look at her. She's, does she not have enough of dogs to pick up from? But I said, no, this child needs all the attention. This child needs all the attention. And who is there for him right now? So till the end of his life, or at the end of our lives, he's going to probably be with us, and he becomes member of our family. So this is Ramu for you.
I think that was a remarkable story. I think that definitely sets examples for us. Dr. Rajlakshmi, you've been actively involved in terms of treatment of autistic children through therapy dogs. Maybe any examples and anecdotes from your side?
Anecdotes. Dr. Utpal started this segment with a wake-up call. Along those lines, I'd like to continue because I'd like to share some statistics. Autism, MIT researchers have predicted that autism, by the year 2025, 1 in 2 children are likely to be diagnosed with autism. And this prediction was made based on research in 2014. And the rate has continued. And another statistics for you is California. More than statistics is California has declared a state emergency in 2020 because autism has become unmanageable because they don't remain children. They become adults and there are no homes and, facilities to take care of, these autistic beings. Another statistics I'd like to share is almost 50%, 49% of autistic children either harm themselves or others. And in Massachusetts state, they have passed an order. The court has passed an order that in a school, if a child harms themselves or others, autistic children, they can be given electric treatment, ECT. And this is a law that has been passed. And another statistic that I'd like to share is 75% of autistic children have an additional mental illness. And all these statistics are relevant to Chennai because a more or less similar situation exists in Chennai already. When I met the Chennai Corporation Commissioner, Gagandeep Singh Bedi, with respect to the Autism Wall Art event, when I was meeting him, an organization had contacted him over phone asking him for shelter for autistic adults during the pandemic because there was no shelter for autistic adults. I'm talking about human beings here. And another private builder in Chennai has built 100 homes, 1 crore plus each apartment for autistic adults because these parents, the second the diagnosis of autism is given, they think after us whom, because that's the general situation that is prevailing, which need not be the case. So this is the gravity of the situation, and this kind of a situation is already there in Chennai. And no proper statistics is there, but the number of special schools, everything is on the rise. Okay, in this scenario, I have been working over the past 12 years with autistic children, and one common language between autistic children and our pet animals is energy. Energy. The autistic, our pet animals, companions, we have an autistic pet companion program. I'll come to that later, why I went into that. The common language between our pet animals and these autistic children is energy, because autism is an energy-sensitive state of being. At the lower frequencies, the limiting symptoms dominate. At the high frequencies, the gifts and talents bloom. So I would like to focus on this slide here. The dogs, they embody unconditional love. And the cats, as Dr. Chinni was sharing, in a humorous way, they may seem selfish, but actually they maintain unconditional energy alignment with what they want. And these autistic children are like that. They are on a high frequency. Only you need to upgrade yourselves to their energy frequency. They will not downgrade themselves to, the rest of the neurotypical people's energy frequencies. And dogs help in enabling grounding of the energies, because if they're hyperactive or hypersensitive, being around a dog really calms them down. And in fact, Dr. Chinni may be aware of this. There's a doctor dog program. Actually, I got to know of it only through him. When we had actually Pets League, our organization here, we had sponsored the Great Indian Dog Show in 2019. That's when I came to know of this doctor dog program. And cats, they facilitate thriving, because both of these are important for autistic children. One is to be able to ground their energies so that they're free from the symptoms. And that will help them to, for the energy to be available for them to thrive. So this is how animals help children with autism. And what we need to give our pets in return, because they're offering so much to our autistic children, is, of course, all of the here in this forum, all of us will be aware. I mean, we will need to care for them, take them out for walks, and all of those things. And cats may seem like relatively low maintenance, but whatever else needs to be attended to needs to be attended in terms of their health and well-being. So One Health, Autism Pet Companion Program, both of these are connected. Another aspect I'd like to mention here is everyone spoke, especially Dr. JP had mentioned pet abandonment. I was shocked to know from, I was interacting with Abhijit. He said autistic kids are being abandoned by their parents. So that is the situation we are in right now. Other than that, Dr. JP also spoke about compassion for animals. Here we need compassion for autistic children, autistic human beings, because autism is the next stage in human evolution. So the way I got involved with pets is, like I said, how I treat these children with autism. Like we have a present Authentic Autism Solutions program is there, and our website is there, and I've been healing children with autism in over 40 plus countries over the past 12 years. Our reach is in more than 100 plus countries now, and now because the severity and the urgency is so high, I mean, we really need to act immediately. Pets come in as frequency holders and offerers of unconditional love. So we engage in helping families with children with autism to adopt, pets, dogs or cats. And of course, here there are two pitfalls I'd like to mention. More than pitfalls, maybe we need to be aware of this. Is one is these cute videos that all of us, definitely every one of us would have seen. And they see all these, and of course they think that it's going to be a very happy ride with these pets when they are adopted. It's like actually bringing another human being. In fact, they need to care more for the pets, even than for their children. So they need to be aware as to what kind of a pet they want to. So education is and awareness is needed with respect to what is compatible with each person's, with every family with a child with autism, because the energy dynamics are different with and unique to each family. The other thing is, of course, humanization of the pets. What happens is they tend to make, humanize. One example I would give is, maybe accessories or, giving them dress. All of that is fine to some level. But beyond that, it reaches a point where, they become slaves to the pets. And instead of the pets being allowed to be who they are, all of us talk about, authenticity and being true to ourselves. We need to allow the pets to be true to themselves as well, our animal friends. So this has been my experience, and all those instances where a pet has come into the family, we have seen amazing improvements in the child, to the extent that nonverbal children also start talking, when engaging with the pet. Mainly because not many people are there around even to speak with the child these days. I mean, everybody is busy with their own work. More than that, like I said, it's all an energy disturbance. And it also gives a breather for the parents and the family, because they get some time off. Then, caring for a child with autism is unimaginably stressful. And these pet companions, that's the way I would refer, a program is Pet Companion Program. They offer respect to the parents as well. And the children get to engage with them, and they have the inherent capability to hold the frequency and help the child to get out of the limiting symptoms and thrive. So what I individually have been doing is, for example, children with nonverbal autism, in 10 sessions or less, I make them speak. I help them speak. This is world over. Only to remote healing. I don't meet any of my patients. And these pets help in this process, because how much can one person do? Of course, I'm trying to train other people, but so that way, if you see, I think this problem will, given the statistics that I've shared with you, like if 1 in 2 kids is going to be diagnosed with autism, then I don't think there should be a dearth of people wanting to adopt our pet animals. So there's enough here, and we just need to become aware, engage, and work together. And which is one of the reasons I chose to come here. Basically, I'm a trained medical doctor. But I got into healing, and then now into pet therapy as well. So this is the way pets have helped us. And on a lighter note, I'd like to end this. Actually, I've been blessed to be have pet companions, maybe around 10 cats or more than 5 or 6 dogs throughout my life so far. And it reached a point where when we shifted to our new house, I was very, very sure not another pet. I'm not going to bring another pet into the house, because I didn't have the time, the energy. I was focused on a whole lot of other things. So there was this dog in our street. And of course, in our community, people take care of pets very well. I'm happy to state that. And there was this dog in our street, and I kept avoiding making eye contact. I shared this story with Abhijit and was also. For 2 years after moving to this new place, I deliberately, fully avoided making eye contact. If the dog would be there at the beginning of the street, I would never even go out of the house. But it so happened that all of this ended just in one day with the pandemic lockdown being announced. And everybody, got busy, and they were busy with their own lives, everything under lockdown. Promptly, she came and landed at my doorstep. and I had no choice. I had to adopt her. It's more than, I would say, it's an energy frequency thing. There's no way of escaping the love and compassion. And of course, it's like even now this morning, I was just when I came out of the house, I was so happy to see her, and she was wondering where I'm leaving today. And it's a wonderful, words cannot describe the kind of gift they offer us. And I'm glad that I ended up adopting her, or rather, she adopted me at this point.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, well said, Dr. Radhalakshmi. I think two insightful points there. One, humanization of pets. Two, I think unconditional love. Three, I think energy frequency balances, right? That's the kind of stability that pets bring to our lives. And just kind of harping a little more on that point, since we are talking of humanization of pets, I think pet nutrition is also an equally important topic, right? And I think there is enough and more need to kind of spend time, understand it a little more. Do you think pet nutrition, and this is the question to Mr. Karthik, do you think pet nutrition overall plays a very, very vital role in terms of how the pet's lifespan yields out in terms of preventive situations for them to be completely out of disease situations and scenarios?
I'm Karthik. I'm actually representing Dr. Shiva, who is not here actually. We represent Mothers of Animals. This is actually a live example which I had come across. I'm a newcomer actually and a beginner actually in terms of involvement in pet care. Basic nutrition which has not been given. Actually, the homeless people, children are not getting actually the nutrition, the basic nutrition. I had visibly seen the last 3 to 4 months actually, a lot of people, children are actually no more now. So this, I strongly believe that the balanced diet, nutrition has to be actually provided in any form. And I would like to actually, though I don't have any experience in terms of taking care of children, but probably I'll have more now after this kind of experience. I had actually personally experienced a lot during the COVID time where I got involved in Mothers of Animals. We have been actually feeding almost around 1,500 pets during the COVID time and almost on the span of some 4 to 5 months. Thanks to Mars also to a certain extent where we were able to feed. And we can see actually, a lot of actually children actually were actually with a good health actually in terms of actually surviving in that particular pandemic situation. And after seeing this actually, our own group, which we do have actually, we have more volunteers actually taking part in actually. Since courtesy Mass, we are able to actually give to them also in terms of distributing the proper nutrition food actually the pets.
Yes, I would like to validate that. Mass India has been absolutely very, very supportive right through COVID, because if not, the kids would not have survived. I think we need to give them a very big applause because they just came forward and just supported the cause. That's all. They knew the children were all starving and we need to do this for them. And, help reached out at the right time. So we are very, very thankful from the animal fraternity to Mass India. That is one. And coming back to some of the topics that we touched, adoption. Now, many a time I've personally interviewed the parents and I take that pain to educate them, to tell them what it is to adopt a child. First, do you know what you're getting into? Because when they see them as puppies, they're all very cute. And I've had cases coming back to me saying that, oh, we never expected this to grow to this level or to this height. So we're not interested now. So the first things I inhibited right there. And I tell them, look, do you know what you're getting into? You're talking about 15 to 17 years of your lifetime. You are actually getting a member into your family. That's number one. If you're prepared to give that kind of time, allocation of funds, so that the child is treated well. You're not to take the child and tie the child up right outside your gate. Most of the time I see them in the sun, just sitting around there. I said, why is this baby outside? So he said, no, we don't need them. We don't entertain them. So I interview not only the parent, I will also interview the in-laws, the other inmates of the members, and many a time they've gone back on adoption because they say their wife has an allergy. My mother-in-law is not interested. So I've seen children getting ill-treated. So we bring the child back immediately. So I feel educating the parents right before, from day one start, is very, very important, because you will not have these abandoned dogs after a period of 1 year. As soon as you said, COVID was over, they took the child to entertain their children. So I said, this is not a toy. You go, if you want a toy, go buy it from a shop. But you cannot take this live puppy and then make it a toy for your children. This is not a toy to play around because it is actually an animal. It's got life. So I guess each of us, when we take that responsibility of adoptions, we need to educate them that this is the kind of thing that they're getting into. And also they need to be taken to doctors. We will help them with many of the adoptions. We are helping them with ABCs. So we tell them, don't worry, you take this female. And then they have an issue about male and female. So they pick on the males and leave the females. So that's when we step in and tell them, your female baby is going to be taken care by us. Don't worry, after 7 to 8 months, contact us. We will try to get this child surgeried. So don't worry about that, you will not have any sort of issues. So these are the small little things I think we should take forward. We also organize nature walks. Now, what are these nature walks? We take them on these feeding rounds. So we invite all the school children and the little ones, they come with their parents and we take them and say, come, let's feed the kids. Let's feed the children. So they are so excited about the whole thing. So that's where there are two things. One is care the animal, caring for the dog. The second thing is removing the fear from these kids that the dogs bite. I said, come touch them. They're absolutely good. They're absolutely friendly. So we are not only doing feeding, we're also teaching them how to not fear the animal and then live coexist with them. And also the basic things of we teach children to keep basic bowls of water. Any bowl, please keep it outside your house. So that's when you have your squirrels and your, all dogs and animals come forward. So these are the basic points of education where we can inculcate it right in the beginning so that we do not have, again, mishaps. After that, abandoning dogs in the streets is not the answer. So again, I would definitely like to stress upon one point is if the Blue Cross, as far as the longest I've known is Blue Cross, if it's an animal, then contact Blue Cross. I don't know why that equals to Blue Cross has always been the case. Of course, there are lots of other clinics and hospitals that have come about, but the 24-hour service is definitely recommended. If you want more rescuers and volunteers to come forward, we need to support them. So that is something that they were asking for. And if we can support them, I think the world will be just a better place to live in and we can all coexist. Thank you.
Mr. Rajmesh wants to go and post that Dr. Utpal will come to you.
Yeah, I would like to share my experience handling streeties. I've been feeding street children for the last 15 years, covering a wide area. So what I've realized is I would try my best to find them a home, but if I cannot find them a home, I will make wherever they are a better home for them by involving the street vendors. You would be amazed to know that this street vendor can take a day off. He's a daily wage earner, but he will take a day off and take the pet to the hospital. So what I have done is educate them, make their children feed the dogs and sterilize them. And you wouldn't be surprised to know that each street vendor can take care of even 10 streeties. So like that, I've actually near High Court and Paris Corner, I've got at least 60, 70 dogs taken care of by the street vendors. So I think if we cannot find them a home, we should make wherever they are, we should make it a better home for them.
Absolutely, I think fairly energizing update there. We'll move to Dr. Utpal. I think you had something to add.
Very quickly, actually, I won't take too much time because first of all, Mars, of course, has done fantastic job as Ms. Chaya pointed out in Chennai, but also through BBMP in Bangalore. I'm aware of what the initiative. So thank you so very much again for starting a new campaign. I just wanted to also respond to Dr. Raj. I think he's absolutely right. I hope I'm not given the impression that every other day we're going to have a some species barrier jumping happening, but it's only once in a while. These events happen only once in a while. So in case I've given the wrong impression myself, Dr. Raj, you are absolutely right. But we do share many infections which are common with animals also, which has been there for decades. So that's something that we need to be, and we just need to take better care of pet. That was the point that I was trying to make, Dr. Raj. I hope I didn't misrepresent this point, and we'll have a chat. Finally, I just wanted to bring up something that Dr. Chinu Mr. Chinu had brought up earlier today and relevant to this discussion. The strays, I think we must celebrate them. Also, for another reason relevant to this topic, they are actually genetically primed to be more disease resistant. And this is something that we must tell people. that, you are in good shape if you've got a stray, I mean, you're not a stray, I'm sorry, again, I don't like to use that word, street dog, the indie, because you will not have so many problems with those delicate inbred species, which we are so fond of. They are so fickle. They have so many, we know genetically predisposed to so many hassles. Indie is tough. You've got to be in great shape if you are. So that's something we must highlight when we are talking about adoption. And in that point, I wanted to also bring up this issue, which Mr. Cheney brought up beautifully. He was talking about tens of thousands of years, these golden retrievers and labs. And today, if you look at a golden retriever, he'll look like an indie. And we are actually studying the genetic basis behind that at IISc and also at Pet Biotech. So we have created a genetic fingerprint for many of these animals, many of these species. And what he's saying, I want to validate genetically, because most recently we did a case of, somebody came with his breed and pedigree animal and said, I want to understand the breed because I want to celebrate it. It's a very expensive breed. And I looked at it and I said, hey, there's only 30% of this particular breed, I don't want to name it, in your animal based on my molecular biology and genetics. And he was disappointed. How can you be right? So what I'm trying to say is that this have been extremely diluted. What we think of as a pedigree is actually so many times bred over generations that they are actually. So on the other hand, the other example I want to give you, we are now doing exactly opposite. We are actually trying to characterize breeds of stray. And you'll be surprised to find that many of the stray breeds genetically actually are closer to some of the famous breeds. And that's the new perspective, I think, scientifically we are trying to bring. And I'd like to talk to Mr. Jain again, that, hey, 40 million strays in India, right? 36 odd. We really need to understand. And you'll be surprised to see, the beautiful stray, that picture that you showed earlier in your talk, Mr. Nitin, gorgeous. Why would you go for a pedigree dog if you are looking for a good-looking dog? Street dogs can be beautiful. And genetically, I could actually validate that they actually are oftentimes very, very important in terms of, if you want to talk about breeds. So with these points, I just want to thank you again for patient listening. Yeah.
I can vouch for that, Dr. Utpal, because I am a proud indie parent, 4-year-old furball, and the immunity levels, probably one of the best breeds to own. And like Samik called out, love knows no breed, right? It's just a mindset that we need to break out of, that clutter that we have in our minds. Moving to Mr. Jayaprakash, I think you had some point that you wanted to contribute in this.
I'm coming into One Health. Started with One Health. I'm just focusing on One Health. See, the One Health is the aim or the term become very famous all over the world, especially in our veterinary WASAVA. We call it the World Small Animal Veterinarians Association. They are started concentrating on One Health, because see, we are not veterinarian not only for the health of animals. It is also responsible for the health of human being also. See, many of the diseases, even though, as Raja Mahesh said, not the major disease may spread, but there are humpty number of diseases, we call it zoonotic diseases, which spread from animals to human. Back also is there. See, taking care of animal, we are going to taking care of the dogs, human also. Our concentration should also focus on human, unless you will get a hate from the human side. That is what happening in the rabies. Because we are not taking care of the animals, animal shows rabies, then many people started hating animals. Streets, indies, these are the one. Moreover, in India, what I can say in India, we are not following any One Health. If you ask anybody, even a human side, what they'll ask, what is One Health? One Health is this kind of a term. You should become familiar with animal lovers and this. I will tell you one thing. When I gone to US, I astonished to see the antibiotic what they are using. In animal, they are using a restricted amount of antibiotic, which is not being used for human. They are restricted. Here, no restriction. Anybody can go and buy an antibiotic and give it to animals. Okay, and especially in animal, it's been milk producing animal. Anybody can go and get that and give the animals. There is a they are not following any rest period for slaughter or milk, everything. So many people say many of the human patients suffer because of a susceptibility, resistant power, resistant developed with the antibiotic. That is, we are not focusing on that because resistant, doctors knows many doctors because they are not exposed to the antibiotic, but because of the animal they get the resistance power. Okay, these kind of thing we should focus on that. We should insist the government. Okay, even I'll tell you deworming. You just go to the deworming. There is no control over deworming in humans. See, worms is a major part of it. Some of the worms can pass tapeworm can cause a cyst in the brain. But we are relying on the particular medicine, but it's not controlled. There is no control over the medicine. Many people comes with the medicine. They say, I am selling it for 8 rupees. They are giving the medicine, a particular deworming for 8 rupees. MRP is 50 rupees. Okay, you see the quality of the medicine. See, product you it's giving to that people. There is no restriction in issuing the medicine. Say anybody can go. They say if people get medicine for 20, thinking that the tablet will take care of the tapeworm, but they are not including any of that animal. Not only the animal, the owners they handle the animal will get the disease. See, these are the things we have to restrict. And one thing, there is one study, it's very good studies in recently done in about 1 year, 2 years back, they done in Germany. They found about over 10,000 people are involved, children's. They found the child's brought up with the dogs, they are highly resistant to the respiratory disease. Okay, when compared to the child. They developed resistance against the disease. So they insist the child should be brought up. Same time, we should teach the child about the hygiene. This time also, there is when I was judging for that, there was a prize for how many numbers a pet kisses a dog. Then we took that without informing him, sir. We took that out because we don't want. This is in human child, if a mother is not allowed to kiss a child, kiss her own baby, it's a lip-to-lip kiss is not allowed because it's hygiene part. What we are allowing with the sake of dogs, puppies, we are allowing the puppies to kiss a animal. That is you see other part of this. No, we should teach the people, teach the owners how to handle. You handle the animals, you handle the puppies, but after handling, you have to take up a hygiene. This type of thing we have to come out of one kind. Own health is nothing but take care of the dogs, its health properly, take care of us. This is a own health that has to be followed everybody. This is
pertinent points there, Dr. Jayaprakash. And just building on the point in terms of maybe the regulation, the example of deworming that you gave, even in pet nutrition, I think there is a dire need to kind of have regulations on pet food standards, some regulations around that piece. Any builds on that, Mr. Vinod Kumar?
I would say the doctors would be the best people to understand the need for the dogs or the cats, and ensure that the companies actually give the proper nutrient and the supplements that are required in the food that the dogs and cats eat. Okay, and so far I have not really gone into what really constitute the nutrients and other things that are required. So I don't want to go into deep into it. But I've got one point to make about the One Health thing. Rabies is one disease that is actually spread from the dogs, which has rabies to the human beings, and we have been actually vaccinating the dogs to control rabies, okay, to prevent them. And we all know that it's not a one-shot vaccine. Sometimes the dogs have to be given after 1 year or 2 years, like that. So For all the dogs that are actually sterilized, we notch the ear to identify them. So I want to ask Dr. JP or others, how do we actually make an identification about a dog which has been given the vaccine 1 year or 2 years back to know whether this next shot of ARV should be given?
This is either you should take a serum test for antibodies. That is more costly rather than giving a vaccine. 4,000 is that. Say rabies, I want to enumerate here, tell you that rabies, anti-rabies vaccines, it develops, it is not a good, it is not a strong vaccine, I can say. It is not a strong vaccine where you can expect a positive, complete positive antibody level with the vaccination. Many dogs we have seen, say this is a, say the opportunity we have developed, when you send it to other dog, to the foreign countries, you have to take a blood and check for antibodies. We have found few animals, even with the 2 vaccines, they have not developed a vaccine. They have not developed the required antibodies and things, in spite of giving a proper proven anti-rabies. This is what that's why we are advising, even say doctors knows better, if the dog is not known, if the dog bite is from unknown dog, you go for a throughout the vaccine. If it's unknown, if it is not given, it's not, you don't know the history of the dog, you go for, even if your dog is vaccinated, you go for a post-bite, at least for 3 times. Because we may not know the dog has developed, has got rabies from outside. That this is actually, when you have a doubt, immediately go for a vaccination. There's no point in wait whether to 1 year or something. If you are adopting a dog and the dog, there is no history whether dog is vaccinated, then you go for a vaccination. There's no harm in giving a vaccine, 2nd vaccine, 3rd vaccine, 2 vaccine. We prefer 2 vaccines actually. 2 vaccines immediately after the, say, the street is, we give them immediately. There is a literature, they says even after for 25 days, if you give a vaccine, it has a effect of 70% of the antibodies produces. If you give it after 3 months, it gives 100%, 90 to 100% vaccination. So we give them, say, we don't want to take up a chance, we give them immediately once the STT comes for adoption. And then the 2nd vaccine after 3 months. That will give you some, to 90% of the dog develops thing. And moreover, please see to that the vaccines are genuine. Because lot of vaccine and Indian vaccines, I don't want to say Indian vaccines, some other Indian hospital, they keep it in a very small money. They sell it for 25 rupees, 30 rupees. The effect of, we have found by doing this, we found there was no antibody development research. And moreover, the anti-rabies, even if you give an anti-rabies, after 6 months, this is a very poor, it develops very poor antibodies in the body, not like distemper. If you give them distemper and 2-3 vaccines, develop very strong antibiotic, it won't get the distemper. But rabies, even a small stress in a post-vaccination period, is end up with the failure in the antibody levels. So you should repeatedly give. You should be very, if a dog is exposed to the unknown dog, a bite, then you should go for a rabies. So don't take any, we cannot take any, let's say, advantage of not giving a vaccine. This is what we are following. I think it should be helpful to others also.
I think recently with the Animal Commissioner of India, we were discussing a case of rabies in an individual who was vaccinated. And this case was recently studied, and Dr. Malik, of course, we were in the discussion on that. So very valid point. Very quickly, on the point that you brought up about nutrition, feed, on my limited knowledge on it, but nutritional biology is very close to me, my interest. We've been doing a lot of work on equine feeds, and there are a lot of, feed companies which come around because there's commercially, of course, viable, and why not? Yeah. But what becomes a problem also in, I think, obviously in companion animal feeds, dogs and cats, so many new companies mushrooming, and great. I think it's good to have that. But oftentimes lack of regulation creates a problem. And I want to give you a specific example. With equine feed analysis that we've been doing, many horses at the Turf Club in Mumbai began to develop specific symptoms, because and they were giving a feed which was actually not some problem, and we figured out it was eventually because of selenium toxicity. So selenium is essential on the one hand, but they were putting the point that I'm trying to make is that because of lack of regulation, a lot of things are going by, and I think so is also true for dogs and cats. So I think companies like Mars have decades of research, 1935, if I don't understand. So obviously, and world over. So I think there's something about research on nutrition which actually has to be respected. And somehow I think at the level of the government regulation, something has to come forward. But hey, again, is it too much to ask because there are no regulations on human food? So, but I think something that we need to keep this in mind. Yeah, thanks.
Actually, I wanted to add something on that pet food regulation piece. See, Bureau of Indian Standards has a pet food standard, but unfortunately, that standard is very, very archaic. That's the first thing. The measurement standards are very iffy in that sense. There are no labs that probably do those testing in today's day and age. And like rightly what Dr. Tatu said, that there are a lot of people coming in with food products for cats and dogs because the category is growing really fast. What we are trying to do is get some amendments made in the BIS standards and also work towards making it mandatory. And my request here is that we may be reaching out to all of you to really build this conversation, because till the time the community doesn't talk about having pet food standards, we can have the kind of issue that you spoke about, in terms of there being certain claims, nutritional claims, but not the products not being up to it. And that will happen, if there's no standardization, if it is not mandatory. So yes, I think pet food standards in that sense are really important for us, and we're trying to work towards making that happen.
Mars has been very kind enough, to donate food to our shelter. We've got about 30 plus paraplegic dogs. They need good nutrition, and this is where you guys have really helped us. There are times where the dogs have to be given multivitamins, syrups for their platelet or for their hemoglobin to improve, and even the Mars, the pouches, the gravy pouches that have been, I cannot tell you how helpful that have been, because it's impossible to take a syringe and try and give it to the dog. This is a shelter. Dogs come from the streets, all kinds of dogs, blind dogs, paraplegic dogs, disabled dogs. So nutrition, yes, it's really helped us. Mars, the food that has been donated to our shelter really has helped us. That's one thing, nutrition. The other thing, like the One Health that we were talking about, where humans come in. So when people who come visit the shelter, they may not have pets, some do not have children, but when they come, they see a paraplegic dog playing with a dog which is normal, healthy, running around, it just changes them somehow. You see, they keep coming back to the shelter. They want to visit, maybe once a month or twice a month. It makes a difference to their health as well, right? And the shelter where we have it situated is greenery. There's a lot of, so there the environment, we take care of the environment, we are taking care of the pets, and then the people who visit us also have there are people who actually come and they start crying looking at the dogs, but when the dogs come, they're scared, they're like, they don't want to move out of their enclosures, and then within a week, good food, nutrition, and you see them, their eyes are bright, you see them coming out, they're confident, you see. So nutrition is a huge part. We really give great importance to the nutrition at our shelter, like I said, because we've got so many of them which are disabled, paraplegic. We really need to pay attention. Thank you, Mars. Thank you very much, for the food that you all have given us, because it really has made a lot of difference to our shelter dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, Mr.
Hello. So I'd like to share my experience about this rabies. So I was once bitten by a rabid dog, and I have had pre-exposure prophylaxis, but before giving anti-sera, I wanted to check my antibody level if it was adequate. So that is why I know the cost. It was 4,000 rupees. And luckily, I had enough antibody titer, so I didn't have to have another course of vaccine. But coming to this rabies vaccine, so even this morning, I have one of the street vendors whom I help normally. He brought a puppy saying he was bitten by a rabid-looking dog. So this puppy is at home now. I'm giving her rabies vaccine. So what I can share my experience. In the last 5 years, I've at least saved 20 adult dogs and puppies who were bitten by proven rabid dog. But if they are given good vaccination, post-exposure prophylaxis, I have not had rabies in any of those puppies or dogs. In fact, one puppy was bitten right in the eye. So you know that the closer the bite to the brain, the earlier they get rabies. So even this puppy who was bitten right in the eye, with proper rabies vaccine, she didn't develop rabies. So don't give up. If any dog is bitten by a known rabid dog, just vaccinate them. Mostly they don't develop rabies.
Is it possible to do, we are focusing on adoption, is it possible to do virtual adoption? If this is something that you all could promote also, because no one really wants to take a paraplegic or a blind dog home, right? It's difficult to manage them, but if you all could also promote virtual adoption, that's what we are doing. So someone has adopted a dog that's blind, she lost her eyes, we rescued her from Mahabalipuram, so she's called Maha. There's another dog, George, who's lost half his face, he doesn't have an eye. Somebody has virtually adopted this dog. So people can sponsor the food for such dogs. They need not really take the dog home because they already have dogs or whatever the case is. So maybe if you all could look at virtual adoption, which is what we are doing at the shelter, that could also work along with the pet adoption. That would really be great. Yeah.
Let's just work on it.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just go back to the overarching theme of One Health, and the question is to Dr. Utpal. Do you think prophylactic treatment of dog, which is just to say that preventive treatment, are pet parents educated enough to take care of that? Or is it just a problem solution based approach where when they find particular issues with their pets, they end up visiting the veterinary services? So is it more preventive or is it more towards post-problem solution?
Yes, I think, of course, I mean, there are so many able veterinary doctors with so much experience. I'm sure they'll echo my sentiments. I've been augmenting veterinary doctors through technology. But here are my observations. I think, as Dr. Jayaprakash would agree, elsewhere in the world, this concept is, that even when your dog doesn't have any problem, you really need to have a veterinary visit to a veterinary doctor, preventive. This idea is very much there. In India, we wait till the last moment, until the animal is at the deathbed, to think of a veterinary doctor. This is a switch that we need to bring, prophylactic. So, of course, vaccinations timely, but also, I think, to bring your animal at the optimal health. Don't wait for the animal to fall sick. That's not the only problem, because oftentimes it's firefighting. So you really want to make sure that not only your animal doesn't have a disease, but also is it at its best health. And this is what I think, and again, talking about money, in India today, people can afford money. I don't think we are talking about, people are spending money. You'll be surprised. So I don't think money is a problem. It's the mindset that's a problem. We really need to change that. That a regular visit, if you own a pet child, it's your obligation to visit a vet on a regular basis, just the way we do for humans. And this is a change in mindset, again, through awareness programs and love for and passion for animals we need to bring in. So yes, prophylactic is the way to go, actually, and very relevant for One Health topic. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Utpal, on that note. Just kind of bringing a closure to this entire discussion, I think we have had very insightful points coming from all the panelists. We have the NGOs, we have citizens, we have the government agencies. From an overall need in terms of creating the right force or kind of creating a rallying behind the One Health as a concept, are there any specific initiatives that we as individuals and we as part of NGOs and part of government bodies, what are those things, maybe top 2 word pointers from maybe Chaya ma'am and then Dr. Rajlakshmi?
I think everybody's covered everything. I think there's not much to say, but yes, I would second her for the virtual adoptions. More and more people should come forward. Many of them, as she said, physically, they're not able to maintain a pet. But if we can, do something good for some child to be adopted, take care of these expenses, or the medical expenses and things like that, that would go a long way for adoption, because a senior citizen wants to have a pet but not able to maintain one. And with all your building regulations, etc., they don't, half of them are turned away. But then this is a very good suggestion that I would definitely recommend. Yes, we should impose and highlight the value of feeding the children. Feeding the children at least one meal a day is compulsory, because that's the only thing they have to sustain till the next day. So the feeders and rescuers, we all go around feeding them at least one meal a day. And if you can get more and more volunteers across the zones, across the cities, already people are doing a lot of work. We can, encourage them, because they are the grassroots people who actually do work. So if we can get to support them, in a big way, I think 100% we can see a lot of effective work being done. And of course, all the shelters and, for example, Blue Cross or the Besson Memorial, all of them, they're already pressurized with many, ongoing cases. So they have also touched their maximum level. But if each zone gets their own, we don't need to go to any other place. If each zone gets self-centered with our own equipment, our own facility, like we should look up to the corporation for saying, let's not do anything. Let's just go straight to the corporation pound and they will take care of it. So that is the kind of importance we need to give and elevate these people who are also, these little children who are also citizens of the community. So we cannot treat them differently. So I think we should definitely highlight that. If every corporation zone, we can take, for example, gives us that facility, we don't have to go to T Nagar or we don't have to go to some other place to get, take care of our children. So I think those are the little things that the government can also help us out. And when things are affordable, we will have more people coming in, more people stepping in. There are enough number of people, but people shy away only because who is going to fund them? Who is going to take care of them? And then they get these huge medical bills. So where are they going to go for that? So I think we all, as a community and responsible community with people like trying to elevate this issue and the solutions for this, I think we can go a long way to make a better world.
I'm a General Secretary of Small Animal Practitioner Association of Tamil Nadu and the President of Federation of Small Animal Practitioners Association in India. We decided to some extent One Health program to help people who are not afford. Now we are already doing, say, my clinic, and people comes with NDs not affordable. We are giving a first vaccines of anti-rabies on free of cost. And we have a faith. We have a willing to do a service to the others also. The major interference is we need not go as you people are NGOs. If you come out with your thing that your help without your help you cannot cut. I can send my doctor and send my vaccines and send my vehicles to a place, but there are people who have to handle the dogs. So if you NGOs comes around, say I am interested and give them a vaccination for 200 dogs in a locality, you can please verify, you can call me. Okay, I'll speak to my association members. They will help at least once in a month to come to your place and do the vaccination so that we can cover many of the vaccines without responding. We will take care of our the professional service and the vaccine cost. But we need your help to handle the dog and locate the see what are the dogs are there. I'm sure that I'll do it for this.
This would make a very big difference to our children, because if some facility like this is offered for the puppies itself, then we'll be very happy to come forward and make it zone wise. So probably a second 2 weeks in a month we can go to one territory, one zone, and say we are coming in. We will propaganda, and we can do all of that publicity and ask their children to be brought along. We would be very, very happy if we get support like this. We can have a mobile clinic. That's what's needed for the hour. Oh, that's. Yes, this mobile service is going to be very helpful for the local feeders because they are not in a position to bring their babies up to your clinic. So if we go to them, I think this would give a lot of relief to all of them. I think this is very welcome, and I think we are really thankful for this. Thank you, doctor.
Madam, in all our 4 pet clinics, we are providing free of cost anti-rabies vaccine and deworming.
No, what about the 6-in-1? That is where we get
That we are not providing so far.
That needs
But
to be
anti-rabies
included, sir.
vaccine and deworming we are providing absolutely free of cost.
No, anti-rabies, I'm very appreciative of the fact. But we also need to look at the 6-in-1 or the 7-in-1, which have to be given to administered to the kids when they're 3 months or 2 months. So that is where we need your help. So because of that, it costs a little I think it's a 600 rupees or 500 rupees or something like that. But that is again not affordable. So if we can start vaccination at a very young stage, anti-rabies is just one. But I need to also second it with something else. If that is something that you can offer, well, if once that is open and quick, I think many of the companies of corporation bound to it. But again, I cannot deny your voice. If that is facility can enable, that's very, very helpful. At least the basic vaccination. Then we can look at ABCs. ABC next in stage.
We will do.
So every zone wise, it's a takeaway for you. We need to work on that.
Closing mark from
Yeah, see, about this vaccination, I don't think volunteers should be dependent on doctors to administer the vaccine. We have human patients who are self-administer insulin, so why can't we administer vaccine? So the dog will be in their own community. If they're being somebody who's known to them, it'll be almost easy. I think people will learn how. I've taught so many people to do vaccination. I think people should do this. They shouldn't be doctors anymore.
Thanks for this input, but I've faced situations where the non-medical people, they've taken for and Pedigree and they make a cry saying that non-medical how to do all this injection things like that. So that brings maybe, but I don't know the doctor to advise.
So vaccines, non-medical people can. But the preservation, cold chain, all those things that we say, if you leave the vaccine free, say I've seen so many dogs that receive even after giving December. When I asked the people, they say somebody breeder is given. They are given 3 vaccines, but they get what happen. See, giving an injection is something. You should see whether the dog is healthy. You should see whether the vaccine should be completely cold chain. You should see whether the dog should take up the vaccine. These are the things they say. Vaccine is a vaccine is not a medicine to take out the disease. Animal has to develop the immunity against the vaccine, and the vaccine should give this. See, that's why the vaccination by a vet or trained people is mandatory. Giving a vaccine by breeders. This is what happening. You get a lot of parvovirus cases, parvo cases, even after because the available vaccine outside. It is freely available in abroad. In developed countries, it's not allowed. It is not the way to avoid. Because we should put the responsibility of giving vaccination. Okay? This is what happening. See what you see under the supervision of somebody, then you can do it. See a doctor, you can have people who are trained up. But if you leave it like that for everybody, rather than positive. That's it. Actually, there is no law here. There is no. See, we are asking for veterinary nurses. This is what we made when I was head of clinics. We made 2 courses of veterinary nurses. Then subsequently, animal husbandry department they have objected and they stopped. If more of veterinary nurses comes, then it is easy. You can use also. North side is there. Here south side, this because of politics they are not allowing. You people in the better side, you have a lot of substance like nurses and second nurses. So many other things. Here, the kind of trained people are not. We need trained people to take care of the vaccination. No, we can't use it. We can't start individual. It has to take care of the veterinary institution. Say unless there, say if even in my hospital, if I am not giving, some people say assistant doctors are there. They won't allow. Say you should give a vaccine. See, the people should have confidence of getting a vaccine by a trained people. If they're trained by veterinary university or government, then they will take up as a valid things. There will be responsibilities fixed to them. Now, if you allow everybody to give vaccine, then you get a lot of problem. No, I've seen a person who used one vaccine for 3 dogs, divided into 5, and put a sticker. See, this is what going on because vaccine are free. Then how can you stop? What you say? Our came to lot level. I've seen a dog in very remote place in Ramanathapuram. Where this was a distemper. It affected by distemper. How it came? I've seen distemper.
Sorry,
yeah. This is what.
Sure. Thank you so much for your valuable contribution. It's still short time. Maybe we can take this offline. Yeah, just kind of summing up the entire discussion. I hit the crescendo toward last this entire discussion. But I think One Health for all is a concept requires collaboration. It is a transdisciplinary approach, right? And that's where I think a lot of cross collaboration is required. Like I had a lot of valuable insights and thoughts coming in from all the esteemed panelists. I would like to thank you and that means to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Samit Bara, and all our respected panelists for sharing a fascinating discussion. I think it's wonderful. The passion is in this room, and I think that's what we thrive on as an organization as well. And I would just like to add to the discussion before we bring seminar to a close. So Dr. Risha mentioned that since thousands of years, people have lived in harmony with nature. We also included dogs. He asked the question whether a dog is a man's best friend or is a man a dog's best friend. So I think it's a very important question to ask, because I think one of the things that we're discussing here is exactly that. He said that Blue Cross of India, they're proud of the Chinese and collectively with the corporation, Blue Cross achieving arrest. Also, the success in Madras in reduction of rabies cases due to ABS programs have been quite significant. And the last few years, they've not seen too many deaths due to rabies in Tamil Nadu. Dr. Manish said the government and the corporation is an important stakeholder in this discussion. An existing infrastructure for welfare of dogs and cats, and also trying to upskill veterinarians and also trying to improve their animal. Also, he believed that One Health is an important concept and should be handled in a human. He said that this is great for getting inputs in making work better. And it's wonderful to see his involvement and the local conversations with all our panelists. Dr. Krishna says that pet owners should clean after the pets and also clean common areas. Basically, pet parents should be responsible, and this will be the beginning of lowering the conflict between pet lovers and non-pet lovers. That was a critical aspect. With Dr. Manish also, this was an engaging discussion, and he spoke about some initiatives that they have and key partnerships that they have with NGOs and other organizations on ABCs, and there is something on the work of sensitization of the population. Dr. JP makes very good point. We said that veterinary students should be exposed to animals, shelters, develop compassion, and work with animals. Dr. Krishna said that we have law on our side. We are seeing a human government in Tamil Nadu. The finance minister has said that for the welfare of animals, much more can be done if we are all nice to each other and we can speak with each other, have and believe and trust that working together will make that good difference. Anita said that disease diagnosis is important for animals to have a better quality of life. The organization is also working with children to educate them on looking after animals, and I also believe that sensitization is important. At Mars, we have something called the Young In program, where we take pets to schools and get the children to get familiar with them and lose their fear of the animals, etc. So in our own way, we're also trying to contribute. Neela also said that cities are continuously improving on animal habitats. Creating animal habitat, and we work closely with institutions and create that. Ms. Sara said that for obesities for pets, housing is a very important factor in bringing down barriers of adoption. We need more pet creches and daycare for working parents. And I know I'm a pet parent and I have a huge challenge when it comes to leaving my dog when I'm traveling. So for now, it was work from home, and the good thing for us at Mars is we have pet-friendly offices. So all of us can take our pets to work. But what happens not when I'm traveling? So who takes care of my pet? It's a big question that we have. There's a bad adoption for dogs, she said, and adopting Indies is really not a status symbol. So that's, I think, a big cultural barrier. Dawn said that, he said that animal feeders should be responsible beyond feeding. I think there's a theme that has come all our thought leadership where the participants have said that dog feeders should take the responsibility of getting the dogs vaccinated. Dogs are intelligently on animal catching vans, and the feeders can help them get caught so that they can get vaccinated or neutered. Rina mentioned that we do research on Indies, the fact that they are much to the environment. Mostly adoptions are from the streets in India as compared to adoption in the West, where this process is much more structured. We definitely need better facilities when it comes to health, food, and also pet-friendly spaces. I think all these make a difference not only to pets but also to parents. I think that's very critical. Kamal said parks are also in Chennai, and there are a lot of initiatives that they are taking to create those spaces, the healthcare infrastructure, upskilling the parents to be able to create these spaces. Dr. Krishna said that anything that is given free is devalued, and the pet parents should be prepared to incur certain costs, and also that it's difficult for a professional when giving free treatment because it is obviously education. So you can't expect. But I think we've got a wonderful offer from Dr. JP here. In unity, Dr. Krishna said in unity there's great strength. He also mentioned that animal activity must be completely also. Conversations can be a way of resolving issues which don't need to be. He also said that we don't have any concrete reasons for pet abandonment. If behavioral issues are abandoned, we need to build a large community of pet trainers. I think that's also an important point because pet trainers are very few in India, and people who understand pet behavior are not enough. So I think we need more education, we need more institutions, we need more people. And Dr. JP said that NGOs should have minimum facilities to take care of the ABC program. Dogs should be taken care of after the ABC program, and it should not ABC. As a program should not become a making racket. It's not giving adequate money to NGO to cover the basic costs of ABC. Therefore, quality has gone down and that needs to be taken care of. Mr. Vinod said the number of organizational corporations doing ABC are abysmally low. Smaller cities and panchayats says there's almost nil in India the kind of care or even they don't have ABC. So I think ABC probably is a large city phenomenon which we need to really take to the grassroots level if we have to eliminate, if we have to use the number of pets on the streets. He also said that, and one of the reasons this is the case is the shortage of vets. No very to be part of municipal corporation measures. Sarah said that we need to cooperate municipally is not working. Okay, so basically, those are the key discussions of our first panel, Better Cities Pets. And I think that it's important to start becoming conscious of how we can create a where responsible pet can flourish. And also, the pets first. On the second panel on One Health, Dr. Ugal said that the biggest outbreaks in the human world of animals, birds, etc. For almost last 20 years, we have seen infections jumping the disease barriers, the species barriers. And COVID has nailed the issue. We have to wake up and smell the coffee. We have to have conversations at grassroots level and come to the for it. He says nature is smarter than us, all of us know. And how the question is how that we exist. Mr. knows that resistance is happening, but there is a lack of awareness in people how diseases come from and the need to look after animals. People know that has to be taken off on time and not wait till the pet is doing well. More awareness needs to be created to not shun animals but look after them. That was the important point. Interaction is needed between people and animals to build that sensitivity and passion. Raj Mahesh said that most diseases are species specific. Pets do not spread disease. I think even once we did when COVID, like Raj said, what was started, I was saying that they don't spread COVID, but there was a lot of studies done that cats and dogs really spread COVID. So they don't spread disease, create infection. And the family, the fact they're more of therapy than anything else. And I think the common thought was that more awareness needs to be created. Rajlakshmi said that autism is increasing in a big way. A number of autistic kids harm themselves or others. There is not enough support for autistic children. And pet energy and autistic children have a common language of energy. And there's a program that provide therapy support to people. We have Rajlakshmi and her organization has families autism, adopt dogs and cats. How education awareness is needed on how this facility can be used in autism care. Ms. Chaudhary, for example, we have more inclusion and diversity of pets. I'm using this term inclusion and diversity because we use it in human parlance. If we look at companies today, everybody's talking about inclusion and diversity. Therefore, I think even in the pet world, we need to adopt female animals, differently abled pets. In fact, I would like to say that the very pet that we adopted in our office is a differently abled pet, but she's a complete and loves her to bits. We're also trying to set that example. And the fact that on the issue of that's literally are looking up street food to care of the good health of pets being good. I said that prospective pets need to be educated how pets need to be after through the life cycle of the pet. This will be handled, and we need to understand that this is a live animal and not a toy. They can't adopt again and tomorrow. Absolutely agree with you on that. Dr. Raj Mahesh, he gives view, for example, of feathers of the dogs. He said he cannot make a better home for his pets. We should create a good home wherever they are. Here in High Court, he mentioned almost 60 to 70 street dogs are taking care of the street vendors. An example of using resources and witness them and using those resources to do what we want to need. It's just about mobilizing what is present and in a way to take care. Dr. Kamal said that trees are hardy and make pets. They're genetically stronger and also have a from memories, if that's the correct thing that I'm saying. Dr. JP said that zoonotic disease from animals to humans and back to animals, which is the thing that happens to babies. Once again, something that makes people scared or also gets hurt. We also children brought up with pets have higher immunity than children without pets. We should people to handle pets and then follow some rules of hygiene because it's not that just handling our hygiene as well after handling pets. I think that's important. Sarah said that people like pets when they come to shelters develop love and passion for pets. So basically, I've just captured the top things from our discussions. Also, this idea about virtual options was excellent. I think like virtual feeling, there are platforms like Green or many other where you can without really doing it physically. I think that's very important. And now close civil discussions. I thank Dr. JP. You offered your partnership to NGOs, Small Pet Practitioners Association. I think it will make a huge difference. And that one of the purposes of us coming together here is to look at these kind of partnerships. And I'm very happy that we could have a conversation about this. The common thread from all the panel effect long impactful change. Advocacy and sensitization are important pillars. And what I see is that your mass care, like we always say that we are for pets. We are there to do whatever we can. Of course, we also have but as a company, I think each one of us really believes in it. So thank you so much. Thanks to Dr. Krishna for being supporting us and all the other panelists. I'm coming to you with immense gratitude for your time and invaluable support. And now I would invite you over to lunch and some more conversations. Thank you so much.